Rockets claim the theory is simple. The Houston Rockets believe they were robbed of a championship thanks to missed calls in Game 7 of the Western Conference Finals. They lost that game to Golden State by a score of 101-92, but their internal audit says the refs missed 81 fouls, violations, or non-calls that hurt them. The Rockets say those misses added up to over 18 points lost, not across the series, just in that one game. For the entire series, their model claims a total of 93 lost points due to officiating. The most emphasized issue was defenders jumping into James Harden's landing space on three-point attempts. According to the audit, there were multiple uncalled fouls that should have sent Harden to the line. They even pointed out one specific shot late in the second quarter where a defender closed in too tightly. The league reportedly admitted in a later review that it should have been a foul. Two of the team's 27 missed threes, they claim, were impacted by similar uncalled contact. Add that to drives to the rim, where Harden and others were hit without whistles, and the total keeps climbing. They also highlight plays where contact was close, but not clearly called either way. Houston still includes those as potential infractions that cost them. The audit wasn't just a list of complaints, they built a scoring model around each missed call, factoring in shooting percentages and situational outcomes. For example, they believed that if one missed call had gone their way, the other team would have gone to the free throw line instead of scoring. That swing, small on its own, still counted in the Rockets' net loss math. They went so far as to suggest that referees showed systemic bias against them. Their proposal, referee assignments should be based on accuracy, not seniority. And they even mentioned the financial side. Losing that game, and therefore missing the finals, cost the franchise at least $20 million in potential revenue. For Houston, this was not a close loss. It was, in their eyes, a missed championship handed away by the whistle, or the lack of it. Slipgate. The theory goes like this. John Wall's Achilles injury wasn't just an unlucky slip at home, it was part of a bigger, behind-the-scenes move to help the Washington Wizards reset his role. First off, Wall had already gone through surgery earlier that season to clean up bone spurs and treat long-standing heel problems. Those foot issues had been bothering him for years. After the surgery, he was in rehab when the team said he slipped and tore his Achilles. That timing alone set off some alarms for theory supporters. They believed the surgery might have weakened the surrounding tissue or tendon, making the Achilles more vulnerable than usual. And instead of admitting it was a complication from the procedure or rehab, the team blamed it on a random fall. A simple accident like that draws less attention than something that might hint at medical mismanagement. That's where the idea of a cover story comes in. Then there's the money. Wall had a massive contract, and if he couldn't stay healthy, the team might have been looking for an exit strategy. A big injury like that makes it easier to trade him, or at least to rethink his role. The theory says the Wizards saw an opportunity. His Achilles pops, the story is controlled, and now they've got flexibility. Less public drama, more behind-the-scenes maneuvering. Wall's long absence gave the franchise room to pivot. When he finally got healthy, his trade value was tied up in questions about his durability. Not long after, he was sent to Houston. The theory calls this the final piece of the puzzle. He's gone, the cap space eventually opens up, and the team moves on. Theory supporters also point out how odd it is for a top-level athlete to slip at home and instantly suffer such a devastating injury. It's rare, and combined with the timing, right after surgery, during a down year for the team, it feels too neat, too convenient. They say the whole sequence just lines up a little too well for it to be pure coincidence. That's why Slipgate keeps popping up in speculative circles. LeBron to Warriors theory. The theory says that during a short stretch before the 2024 trade deadline, LeBron James actually considered joining the Golden State Warriors. Not just some fan fantasy, there were real conversations happening behind the scenes. It starts with the report that Golden State made a legit attempt to trade for him, not a rumor. They reached out to both the Lakers and LeBron's camp about making it happen. That alone takes this from fantasy into this almost happened territory. One of the main figures floating in the background was Draymond Green. He shares an agent with LeBron, Rich Paul, and reportedly tried to stir the pot a little by nudging conversations forward. That link becomes a key piece for theory fans. It's not a direct meeting, but it's the kind of back-channel whisper that keeps doors slightly open. Warriors owner Joe Lacob even reached out to Lakers owner Jeannie Buss. Executive to executive. That's not casual. Then LeBron drops a cryptic hourglass emoji on social media. No words, no context, just a ticking symbol. People took it as a message, maybe a warning, maybe a clue. Right around the same time, the leaks about the Warriors' interest hit the news cycle. Suddenly, the idea is everywhere. Then the brakes slam. The Lakers reportedly shut it down fast. They weren't interested in trading LeBron. His camp publicly said he wasn't going anywhere. But theory supporters believe the reaction only proves the talks were real. You don't shut down what doesn't exist. After that, things quieted down, but the Warriors didn't walk away completely. Reports came out later saying they kept checking in, more than once over 18 months. That makes it look less like a one-time fantasy and more like a slow burn. The theory is that there was a window, maybe 2 or 3 days, when the unthinkable was quietly on the table. Constraints like his no-trade clause, the Lakers' pride, and the logistical nightmare of matching salaries may have shut it down. But for a moment, the idea wasn't crazy. It was in play. LeBron and Curry, the timeline almost split. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, no Katrina, no Thunder theory. The theory goes like this. If Hurricane Katrina had never hit, the Oklahoma City Thunder might not even exist. Back in 2005, when Katrina slammed into New Orleans, the Hornets were forced out of their home arena and had to find a temporary place to play. That place ended up being Oklahoma City. For 2 full seasons, the Hornets played most of their home games there, and something strange happened. It worked. The city showed up. Attendance was strong. Local support was legit. What was supposed to be a short-term fix became a long-term opportunity. Before that, Oklahoma City wasn't even on the NBA's radar. But now, the league saw dollar signs, fan energy, and political momentum. David Stern even said Oklahoma City had moved to the top of the list for a future franchise. Without that 2-year audition, it's hard to imagine the NBA ever looking their way. This is where the dominoes start. If Katrina never happened, the Hornets never leave New Orleans. That means Oklahoma City never gets its NBA test drive. Without that proof of concept, the Sonics' future could play out completely differently. Maybe Seattle keeps the team, maybe another city becomes the relocation target, but Oklahoma City doesn't jump the line. The Thunder might never have existed, and that changes everything. No Thunder means no Durant, Westbrook, Harden core forming in one place. Those players get drafted by different teams, under different systems, with completely different outcomes. Rivalries shift, league structure changes, scheduling, conferences, playoff seedings all get reshuffled. And then there's the civic side. Oklahoma City used those 2 seasons with the Hornets to build a case for itself. Arena upgrades, corporate backing, fan culture. All of that was sparked by a disaster no one wanted. The theory says if that disaster never struck, Oklahoma City's rise as an NBA city never starts. The spark doesn't happen, the fire doesn't catch, and the Thunder stay a what if. So, this version of the NBA, where Oklahoma City has a team, where Seattle doesn't, and where stars align in one surprising place, only happens because of a storm that changed far more than just a coastline. Magic Johnson conspiracy theory. The theory claims that Magic Johnson was never actually HIV positive. Instead, his diagnosis was staged as part of a government-backed public health campaign to raise awareness about safe intercourse and shift public perception. According to believers in this theory, Johnson was selected not because of anything he did, but because of who he was, a global icon with unmatched influence at the time. Supporters point out that the timing of his announcement in 1991 was no coincidence. The AIDS crisis had hit a cultural boiling point. Fear was high, stigma was rampant, and public health agencies needed a face that could reset the national conversation. Enter Magic. His shocking announcement immediately drove up media coverage, increased testing, and widened the national perception of who could contract HIV. Data from that time even shows a measurable jump in diagnoses among heterosexual men right after his news conference. Then there are the oddities. His wife remained HIV negative, even though they'd had unprotected intercourse before his diagnosis. His long-term survival, often without visible illness, is treated as suspicious by the theory crowd. They ask how a man diagnosed with a deadly virus 3 decades ago can appear so healthy, so consistently. They point to his public image, which shifted from NBA star to health ambassador almost overnight. For them, that transition wasn't natural, it was scripted. The theory also leans heavily on ambiguity. No one has ever seen the original test results. Medical records are private. There's no independently verified chain of diagnosis accessible to the public. They argue that everything we know about his status comes from Magic himself or his representatives, and that leaves room for manipulation. They even highlight how his announcement came complete with media coordination, press conferences, and an instant pivot into advocacy. It felt polished, even rehearsed. Finally, they tie it all together with one core belief. Johnson's story helped sell the public on HIV awareness. His fame turned him into the ultimate poster figure, not just for survival, but for the message. To the theory crowd, that wasn't accidental. That was the point. Skirvin Hotel Theory. The legend goes like this. The Skirvin Hotel in Oklahoma City isn't just a historic building. It's haunted, and the ghost may be playing defense. The theory claims that visiting NBA teams staying there have faced sleep disruption, strange encounters, and a creeping sense of doom, all thanks to the hotel's spooky history. At the center of the story is a woman named Effie, a chambermaid allegedly locked in a room on the 10th floor by the hotel's original owner. She's said to have leapt out the window, either alone or with a baby, and now her ghost roams the halls. Room 1015 is often spotlighted as the epicenter of the hauntings. Players have reported baby cries in the middle of the night, unexplained movement, and doors slamming with no one around. Some even say they've seen shadowy figures or felt invisible hands touching them in the dark. These aren't casual rumors. Big name players have spoken up. Meta World Peace claimed he was touched by ghosts. Lou Williams refused to sleep there. Derrick Rose's room was reportedly found trashed, with no one else inside. James Johnson backed that up, saying after dinner one night, they returned to find Rose's room flipped over like a poltergeist party had gone down. Eddie Curry had such a bad experience, he fled his room and bunked with a teammate. Kyrie, after dealing with a bedbug incident at the Skirvin, even started working on a horror movie about the place. The 10th floor keeps coming up. It's the floor where Effie was allegedly locked away and where most of the stories focus. The hotel doesn't confirm the ghost tales, but they don't exactly deny them either. Local lore and old architecture fuel the rumors. When teams come to play the Thunder, they often stay at the Skirvin. The theory says that's not just bad planning, it's home court advantage, disrupted sleep, eerie vibes, and shaken nerves all before tip-off. And when players speak publicly about the place, it only deepens the legend. Whether you believe in ghosts or not, the Skirvin's reputation is very real in NBA circles, and that's enough to mess with heads. LeVar overtraining theory. The theory says LeVar Ball didn't just raise basketball players, he built them like machines, and in doing so, may have run them into the ground. According to this idea, the intense old-school methods he used with Lonzo, LaMelo, and even other young trainees pushed their bodies past safe limits before they ever reached the NBA. The theory points to steep hill runs, long endurance sessions, and physical grind with little focus on rest. LeVar called it toughness. Critics call it overuse. Lonzo and LaMelo have both dealt with recurring injury. Lonzo's knee has been a revolving door for surgeries. LaMelo's ankle problems are already raising long-term concerns. Theory supporters argue these aren't just bad luck. They see a pattern. Stress applied early, load never managed, and joints breaking down after years of pressure. LeVar, of course, blames raggedy shoes and lightweight team workouts, but that fits the theory even better, a narrative that shifts blame away from the guy holding the stopwatch. Some fans online have flat out said it. Lonzo was overworked before he ever put on an NBA jersey. And behind the brothers, there's a layer of less famous players. AAU kids, ball family trainees, ball boys. The theory says they were pushed through the same grind with even less attention and zero spotlight. No public injury reports, no load tracking. Just run until your knees complain, then keep running. This theory leans on the fact that LeVar had full control. He wasn't a school coach or a team trainer. He ran the operation. No outside oversight. That opacity is what makes it plausible to theory believers. No one saw how hard those workouts really were. And when a body breaks down later, who can say when the damage started? Analogous stories in youth sports exist. Pitchers throwing too many innings, gymnasts breaking down in their 20s. It happens. The Ball family just had cameras rolling the whole time, turning every sweat session into a brand. The theory says the brand cost them physically, and maybe behind all the bravado and highlight reels, there's a real price being paid in cartilage, tendons, and surgeries. Embiid to Cleveland theory. The theory says if Joel Embiid never suffered that foot injury before the 2014 draft, he would have gone number 1 overall to the Cleveland Cavaliers, and the entire landscape of the league might look different. At the time, he was one of the most dominant college prospects scouts had seen in years, a 7-footer with real two-way potential. The only reason he slipped to number 3, that fractured navicular bone, scared teams off. Now imagine a world where that injury never happened. No red flags, no surgery. Embiid shows up to every workout healthy, and Cleveland doesn't hesitate. They pick him first overall. That puts him alongside Kyrie. And then, weeks later, LeBron James announces his return to Cleveland. Suddenly, you've got LeBron, Kyrie, and Embiid on the same roster. A ready-made super team in the East, built with youth, dominance, and star power across all positions. This version of the Cavs doesn't need to trade for Kevin Love. That means they probably never send Andrew Wiggins to Minnesota. Wiggins might fall to number 3 and land with the Sixers. Parker may go too. And the entire process era in Philadelphia, completely altered. No Embiid, means no trust the process tagline, no entire rebuild centered around a dominant big man. The team's identity shifts overnight. In this scenario, Cleveland becomes a dynasty candidate. Embiid develops under LeBron's wing, Kyrie plays off ball more, and LeBron no longer has to carry the interior. If Embiid stays relatively healthy, they might stack titles without needing veteran role players like Channing Frye or Tristan Thompson in heavy minutes. Rivalries with the Warriors? Totally different. With elite rim protection and an inside scoring threat like Embiid, the chess match changes. And for Embiid, his legacy shifts. No more missing 2 full seasons in Philly. No constant media questions about tanking. He comes into the league winning, surrounded by veterans and structure. It could have set a completely different tone for his career. Less pressure, less rehab, more focus on development. That one injury reshaped multiple franchises. In this alternate timeline, it never happens, and the ripple effect resets entire sections of NBA history. Fat suit theory. The theory says James Harden may have worn extra padding, or even a full-on fat suit, to make himself look out of shape while still on the Houston Rockets, all to help engineer a trade. Sounds wild, right? But that's exactly what internet sleuths and NBA fans started suggesting when Harden showed up looking noticeably heavier during warm-ups. And then, almost like magic, looked way slimmer just days after getting traded. People first started talking about this during the 2021 trade saga. Harden had already made it clear he wanted out, but instead of staging a dramatic walkout or going silent, he kept playing, just looking different. Baggy warm-ups, thicker frame, sluggish on court, social media lit up. Posts accused him of wearing some kind of padding to tank his perceived value or stall interest. Some said it wasn't just a bad angle, it looked deliberate. Then came the side-by-sides. In one photo, he looks bulky and stiff. In the next, just a few days later with the Nets, he's moving faster, looking leaner, almost like the weight vanished overnight. That's when the fat suit theory really took off. Some versions say it was full body padding. Others say just extra layers under warm-ups to give the illusion. Why would he do this? Well, according to the theory, it could have helped lower trade offers. If other teams thought he was out of shape, they might hesitate. That gives Harden more time to steer the narrative, pick where he wants to go, wait out the noise. And once he lands where he wants, boom, back in shape. No questions asked. The theory even suggests it helped him control the bounce-back storyline, go from washed to resurrected in one clean media cycle. But there are holes. No one's ever caught him adjusting weird gear under his jersey. And while viral photos sparked the talk, Sports Illustrated later debunked at least one of the most extreme images as fake. Plus, athlete bodies fluctuate all the time. It doesn't always mean trickery. Still, fans keep wondering, was it weight gain or weight acting? The mystery stays alive. Iverson targeting theory. The theory says that in 2007, NBA referees, including Tim Donaghy, deliberately called unfair fouls and borderline violations on Allen Iverson as a form of punishment. According to Donaghy's own words, the refs didn't just react to Iverson's criticism of Steve Javi. They planned retaliation before tip-off. At the time, Iverson was playing for the Denver Nuggets. He'd recently been fined $25,000 by the league for ripping into Jovi, both during a game and in post-game comments. That set off alarm bells among refs. Donaghy claims that ahead of a matchup with the Utah Jazz, the officiating crew met and agreed to tighten the whistle on Iverson. Not for the integrity of the game, but to teach him a lesson. Donaghy says they focused on palming, traveling, and hand checks, stuff that often goes uncalled with stars. But that night, Iverson got hit with every one of them. The theory says they weren't just enforcing rules, they were enforcing order. When Iverson asked Donaghy how long it would last, Donaghy claims he dodged the question. That's where the theory gets heavy. It's not just a few bad calls, it's premeditated officiating, planned before the game even started. According to the theory, this wasn't a one-time slip. It was a look behind the curtain, showing that referees could weaponize their discretion to control or punish players. No league memo, no oversight, just referees deciding among themselves that Iverson had crossed the line and now they'd get him back through calls. Supporters of the theory say it's a case study in power imbalance. A star player, known for clashing with authority, walks into a game already down on the scoreboard because of who's wearing the stripes. And if this could happen to Iverson, the theory asks, how many others face silent retaliation? Donaghy's credibility is a mess, sure, but the theory doesn't rely on him being a saint. It leans on the chilling idea that he wasn't alone. He was just the one who talked. Wade's, it's a business theory. The theory says D. Wade's recent comment, the NBA is a business, wasn't just small talk. It was a quiet nudge, a wink, a subtle admission that what fans are calling rigged might not be completely wrong. He didn't name names, he didn't blow whistles, but he said enough. And for a lot of people, that's all they needed. right after the 2025 draft lottery, when a team with slim odds landed a top pick. Wade was asked about the result. His response? It's a business. I'm not saying anyone's doing anything, but this is a business that we're all a part of. That phrasing, that pause. It didn't sit right with fans, especially the ones already suspicious that the lottery isn't as random as the league claims. This isn't the first time the lottery has felt a little guided. Go back to 1985. The Patrick Ewing frozen envelope theory still lingered. A big market team gets a big market star. Sound familiar? The system's changed since then, but not enough to stop whispers. Today, the lottery results are determined behind closed doors. We get the envelopes later, but the ping pong balls, those drop out of sight. Audit firms are there, sure, but who audits the auditors? Add Wade's status, former superstar, now league connected, and his comment hits different. He's not a Twitter troll, he's a Hall of Famer. If he thinks the business side might influence outcomes, then what do the rest of us really know? The theory lays out motive, steer stars to save franchises, spike ratings, balance narratives. When Zion went to New Orleans, right after they lost Anthony Davis, people raised eyebrows. When LeBron returned to Cleveland and the Cavs immediately won a lottery, same. Wade even joked, maybe that's a coincidence. But then again, maybe it's not. No one's caught silver briefcases being passed under the table. But when stars land, where they make the most sense, year after year, when the math keeps bending, Wade's little comment starts to feel like more than a shrug. Maybe it was a quiet confession from someone who knows just how much is decided off the court. Finals, MVP theory, the story goes like this. After Bob Dandridge threw down a clutch dunk to lock up the series in Game 7, the announcer straight up said he'd be the Finals MVP. Not just speculation, he was the guy. Dandridge had been rock solid on both ends throughout the series, and especially critical in Washington's huge wins in Game 2 and Game 7. His stats backed it up, so did the eye test. Elvin Hayes was right there with him in terms of impact, but he fouled out in the fourth and had a rocky relationship with the media. So Dandridge looked like the obvious pick. But when the MVP was finally announced days later, the name was Wes Unseld. No warning, no real explanation, just a switch. And here's the strange part. Unseld hadn't been an all-star for 3 years. He wasn't putting up big numbers, and he wasn't carrying the load like he used to. He was clearly Washington's third best player in that series, but he was the sentimental favorite. A legend in Washington, drafted by the team. A media darling. Dandridge and Hayes, outsiders. Imported stars. The theory is that the media shifted the vote after the series to give Unseld a lifetime nod, not because of what he did in those 7 games, but because of everything he represented. Some believe the original vote actually went to Dandridge, and it was later overridden to hand Unseld a legacy award. The narrative flipped. Dandridge sealed the win, played better, and had the numbers, but Unseld got the credit. That's the theory. Media influence took the vote and massaged it into a storybook ending for a beloved veteran. It was less about who dominated the finals and more about who made people feel good when they wrote about it. And just like that, Dandridge faded into the background, almost forgotten. Hayes got no love either. Meanwhile, Unseld's name got etched into history. A perfect headline, a perfect photo op, but maybe not the most honest reflection of who actually earned it. Goodwill Games theory. If Ted Turner never pushed for the Goodwill Games in the mid-1980s, there's a real theory that says the Dream Team might have never existed, or at least not in time for the 1992 Olympics. Turner's event wasn't just a sideshow. It was a political response to Olympic boycotts, and it gave international sports a new direction. His idea? Let's create a world stage where athletes can actually compete, not get caught in Cold War drama. The Goodwill Games gave fans and federations an example of what sports diplomacy could look like without all the red tape. Now, jump to 1989. FIBA suddenly votes to allow professional players in international play. A huge shift. Before this, pros weren't welcome, and the US had to send college kids. The theory says Turner's games helped build the public appetite for real, high-level global matchups. No Goodwill Games? Maybe less urgency for reform. Maybe FIBA doesn't feel that pressure. The vote could have failed again. It had already failed once in 1986. That reform moment might not have even happened, or at least not in time for Barcelona. And here's where it gets interesting. Without that vote, the Dream Team can't exist. You're talking no Michael Jordan, no Magic Johnson, no Larry Bird, all still stuck on the sidelines. FIBA's rule change directly triggered USA Basketball's ability to form the Dream Team. No vote? That roster's a fantasy. College kids are suiting up instead again. And if that happens, the rest of the world doesn't get that wake-up call from a supercharged American lineup. The NBA's global explosion? Maybe it still happens, but it hits the brakes. Fewer international stars rise up. The Dream Team was the match that lit the fire. The theory stretches even further With no dream team in 92, the sports narrative changes. Maybe professionals are allowed later, like in 96, or maybe only a few NBA players are allowed per roster. The dream team's dominance? Diluted. And Turner's absence? Quiet, but massive. No big games, no pressure on FIBA, no bold rule change. The dominoes don't fall the same. Basketball history looks different. Less global, less iconic. The dream team might have never become the legend it is today. All because one media mogul didn't decide to challenge the system with his own international event, push-off theory. In the final seconds of Game 6 in the 1998 finals, Michael Jordan crossed over Brian Russell, rose up, and hit what many called the greatest shot in NBA history. But right before that shot left his hands, there was a moment that's been frozen, replayed, and argued about ever since. Did Jordan push off? The theory says yes. Watch the footage slowly, and it looks like Jordan uses his left hand to give Russell a little nudge on the hip. Not a shove, not dramatic, but just enough to send Russell sliding. That slight contact gave Jordan the space he needed to rise, square up, and drill the jumper. Fans who believe the push happened say it was subtle but obvious. Russell didn't just fall away by accident. He lost his balance right after that hand touched his side. Supporters of the theory also point to the timing. No call was made, and with the title on the line, some think the refs just let it go. It's the finals, the biggest stage. Refs might hesitate to blow the whistle in that moment, especially on the league's biggest star. And honestly, the league probably didn't want its defining moment to be a foul call. There's more fuel behind this theory from Utah fans too. Over the years, they've kept the moment alive with playful jabs. The team once had a Wi-Fi network called Jordan Pushed Off. It's become part of the city's sports folklore. Even players and media figures still debate it. Some believe that if it were any other player, maybe the whistle blows. But for Jordan, silence. Still, not everyone buys it. People who defend the move say Jordan's hand barely made contact, and Russell's momentum was already shifting that way. They argue that the crossover was so sharp, so clean, that Russell just leaned too far, got caught guessing, and slid out of the play. In that version, Jordan didn't need to push. He just read the defender perfect. But the theory won't go away, because that shot was everything. The end of an era, the sixth title, the walk-off dagger. And if that hand gave him just enough space to get free, then the legend has a little edge to it. No-show theory. In 2021, the Clippers signed a flashy sponsorship deal with a green banking startup called Aspiration. Around the same time, Kawhi Leonard reportedly entered a $28 million endorsement contract with the same company through a firm tied to him called KL to Aspire. The twist? The theory claims that this was a no-show job, that Leonard didn't actually do any real promotional work for Aspiration, and that the deal was just a sneaky way to funnel him extra money without accounting against the NBA's salary cap. That's where the investigation kicks in. The idea is that instead of simply paying Kawhi through normal salary channels, the Clippers might have used Aspiration as a workaround. The team owner, Steve Ballmer, reportedly had a $50 million investment in the company. That overlap makes the setup even more suspicious. It's alleged that the endorsement deal came with very few public obligations and was basically contingent on Leonard staying with the team. Not performance-based, not marketing-based, just Clippers-based. Then it gets deeper. Reports claim that Kawhi was also promised $20 million in stock from Aspiration. That brings the full compensation to $48 million, all tied to a company that eventually went bankrupt. Its co-founder even pled guilty to fraud. Now Leonard's listed as a creditor, reportedly still owed money. Leonard denies the whole idea of it being a no-show job. He says he understood the contract, fulfilled what he needed to do, and that the framing is off. He's even said he welcomes the investigation. The Clippers say they feel confident too. Ballmer insists he had no role in structuring the deal, even though his company introduced Kawhi to Aspiration. He calls himself a victim of the same collapse. The NBA is now digging into it all. They're reviewing contracts, bank transfers, financial disclosures, looking to see if this was a loophole exploitation. Key questions include, did Leonard actually perform endorsement duties? Did the payments line up with his contract years or roster decisions? Were these funds really disconnected from the Clippers? If the NBA finds the team helped orchestrate this side money to keep Leonard paid outside of cap rules, penalties could be major. Draft picks, fines, possibly more. But so far, no conclusion. Just one big lingering theory, that the Clippers gamed the system by hiding a payday behind a crumbling sponsor. 266 teammates. Jeff Green's had more teammates than most players have practice jerseys. Over an 18-season career, he's played for 12 different franchises, stacking up a jaw-dropping 266 different teammates across the regular season and playoff. That's not just bouncing around. That's full-on basketball nomad status. And we're not talking about a list filled with no name. He shared locker rooms with some of the biggest names in the league's history. Kevin Durant, yep, back in the Seattle and early Oklahoma City days. Russell Westbrook, also there, tearing it up with Green during those early Thunder years. James Harden, of course, they connected again during Jeff's time in Houston. But it goes even deeper. Shaq was briefly his teammate. Yes, that Shaq. Green's career has intersected with legends from different eras, whether they were in their prime or winding things down. And being around those kinds of players means you're often on serious rosters, which creates even more turnover. Star-studded teams are constantly adjusting, and Green was always right in the mix. That's the wild part. His role wasn't always huge, but he kept finding his way onto meaningful teams, and that's how the number kept climbing. Add in playoff appearances, trades, new contracts, short stints, and suddenly the guys played with over 265 other professionals. 8 All-Stars on one roster. The 2021 to 2022 Lakers didn't just load up on talent, they stacked their roster with 8 former or current NBA All-Stars. That's 8 players, all on one roster, who'd been selected for the league's biggest midseason honor at some point in their careers. It started with LeBron James, who's got more All-Star appearances than some teams have playoff wins. Anthony Davis was right there too, another multiple-time All-Star anchoring the front court. Then there was Russell Westbrook, brought in with his explosive resume and MVP past. Add Carmelo Anthony, whose All-Star peak made him one of the league's most dangerous scorers for years. Dwight Howard had racked up multiple All-Star nods back when he was dominating the paint. DeAndre Jordan had his moment in the spotlight with the Clippers, and Isaiah Thomas had that unforgettable All-Star stretch with Boston. Rounding it out was Rajon Rondo, who'd already been to multiple All-Star games and brought championship-level experience. Not all of them were in peak form by that season, but they all wore the purple and gold during that year. Some came through trades, others through mid-season signing. Regardless of timing, they were all on the same roster, which makes this one of the most all-star loaded teams in league history. The significance? You just don't see that level of decorated talent sitting in one locker room very often. Roster limits usually make it impossible, but the Lakers pulled it off, at least on paper. 8 All-Star, 1 team, 1 season. That's a record worth remembering. 7 teams in one trade. On July 6th, 2025, the NBA approved a trade that rewrote the record books. 7 teams, all tied together in a single, massive deal. The Rockets, Suns, Hawks, Nets, Warriors, Timberwolves, and Lakers were all involved. And the headliner? Kevin Durant, who was sent from Phoenix to Houston. This deal moved more than just Durant. Houston also got Clint Capella in a sign and trade from Atlanta. Phoenix landed Jalen Green, Dylan Brooks, the number 10 draft pick, which turned into Kaman Maluak, plus second rounders and young pieces like Rasheer Fleming and Kobe Brea. Atlanta got David Roddy and a second-round pick swap. The Nets pulled in 2 second-round picks, and the Warriors took home draft rights to Alex Tuhey and Jamai Mashak. Minnesota got draft rights to Rocco Zikarsky, 2 future second-rounders, and cash. The Lakers came away with the rights to Adal Thiero and more cash. Every team touched the trade wire, whether it was veterans, draft picks, rookies, or future flexibility. Before this, the record for teams involved in one NBA trade was 6. This broke that cleanly. Beyond the team count, the volume was just wild. Players, rights, picks, extending all the way to 2032, and cash flying in multiple directions. What started as a basic Rocket-Sun swap ballooned into something way bigger. Layers of negotiations pulled in more teams and filled out the structure with depth pieces, cap moves, and future assets. It was complicated, historic, and completely official. 7 franchises moved pieces in a single deal, and the Kevin Durant saga hit another record-setting chapter in league history. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, 31 Hall of Famers in the finals. Over 10 NBA Finals appearances, LeBron James has faced a wild total of 31 Hall of Famers, or future Hall of Famer. That's the claim. And based on who he's gone up against, it's not hard to see how that number adds up. Start with the 2007 final. LeBron ran into a Spurs dynasty with Tim Duncan, Tony Parker, and Manu, all Hall of Famers. Jump ahead to 2011, and there's Dirk and Jason Kidd with Dallas. Then in 2012, it was Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook with the Thunder. All of them future Hall of Famers, even if they hadn't hit their peak yet. Now look at that stretch from 2015 to 2018. Golden State had Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, and Durant again. Those are 4 massive names, and all 4 will have Hall of Fame plaques eventually. By the time you stack that kind of elite talent across 10 final series, the number gets big fast. What makes this count so interesting is that it includes players already inducted and those clearly on their way. LeBron's finals matchups have been filled with legends from every direction: scorers, defenders, MVPs, and multi-ring winners. Every team he's faced had at least one or two names that'll live in NBA history books. This record isn't just about longevity. It shows how LeBron's finals runs repeatedly collided with some of the best talent the league had to offer. 31 Hall of Famers is more than a trivia answer. It's a reflection of just how stacked the competition really was. 13 teams. Ish Smith holds the NBA record for playing with the most different franchises in league history. 13. That's not just a suitcase packed once or twice. That's a full-time moving job. Over the span of his career, Smith went from undrafted in 2010 to being a champion in 2023, with a list of stops that reads like a league directory. He started with the Houston Rockets, then went on a tour of the league that included the Memphis Grizzlies, Golden State Warriors, Orlando Magic, Milwaukee Bucks, Phoenix Suns, Oklahoma City Thunder, Philadelphia 76ers, New Orleans Pelicans, Detroit Pistons, Washington Wizards, Charlotte Hornets, and finally, the Denver Nuggets. A few of those he joined more than once, like Philadelphia and Charlotte, but even with the repeats, the total distinct franchises hit 13, and he officially set the record when he suited up for Denver in 2022. That was the 13th team, and as it turned out, the one where he finally won an NBA title. His journey wasn't always about big minutes or headlines, but he was valuable enough that teams kept picking him up. Waivers, trades, short-term deals. However it happened, Smith kept finding his way onto rosters. That kind of career takes adaptability, persistence, and a very understanding real estate agent. 13 teams, one career. No one else has done it quite like that. Whether as a backup guard, a steady presence, or a veteran voice, Smith managed to be just what a team needed. 13 different times. And now, he's got a record no one's ever matched. 3 teams together, James Harden and Russell Westbrook, have been teammates not once, not twice, but 3 different times, across 3 completely different franchises. First, it all started in Oklahoma City, back when Harden was the 6th man and Westbrook was exploding into stardom. That Thunder squad made serious noise and helped launch both of their careers. Then they linked up again in Houston for the 2019 to 2020 season. This time, they weren't young guns anymore. They were both former MVPs, trying to make a deep playoff push together again, this time in red and white. And just when you thought the duo had split for good, they reunited once more, this time with the Los Angeles Clippers. That made it official. 3 franchises, same duo. But they're not the only ones. Taj Gibson and Derrick Rose also pulled the triple. Their first chapter was in Chicago, where Rose was the youngest MVP ever, and Gibson brought energy off the bench. They later reconnected in Minnesota in 2018, with both guys trying to spark something in a new setting, and they did it again in New York, suiting up for the Knicks in the 2022 season. Sharing 3 franchises isn't common, and doing it as longtime teammates makes it even more rare. For both duos, it shows how certain player bonds just keep coming back. Whether it's front office trust, coaching familiarity, or just natural chemistry, when the fit works, teams keep trying it. Harden and Westbrook, Rose and Gibson, 3 franchises each, same jerseys, different zip codes, 5 first-round picks. In the 2025 NBA draft, the Brooklyn Nets pulled off something no franchise had ever done before. They used 5 first-round picks, not traded them, not packaged them. They actually drafted 5 different players in the first round, setting a league record. The picks were number 8, 19, 22, 26, and 27. With those, they went heavy on guards and wings with a little size mixed in. At number 8, they took Igor Demin, a 6'9" international guard out of BYU, known for his vision and feel. At 19, they grabbed Nolan Traoré, another international prospect, this time from France, with plenty of upside and shot creation potential. At 22, it was Drake Powell from North Carolina, an athletic wing with versatility. Then Ben Saraf came off the board at 26, another guard with an international background. And finally, at 27, they selected Danny Wolf from Michigan, a big man with rebounding chops and size in the paint. This kind of draft haul doesn't happen often. Actually, it never happened until now. No team had ever walked away from one first round with 5 selections. It signals a clear rebuild. The Nets aren't trying to patch things up. They're starting fresh, betting on development, chemistry, and time. What makes it even more wild is that they kept all 5 picks. That's rare in a league where first rounders are usually trade chips. Brooklyn went all in on youth, and if even 2 or 3 of these guys pan out, the future gets a lot more interesting. 5 first rounders, 1 draft, 1 team. That's how you make history. 9 Hall of Famers on one team. The 1962-63 Boston Celtics didn't just win, they stockpiled legends. That season, the Celtics had 9 players on their roster who would go on to be inducted into the Naismith Memorial Basketball Hall of Fame. That's the most Hall of Famers on a single team in league history. At the center of it all was Bill Russell, anchoring the defense and dominating the boards. Bob Cousy, the floor general, was wrapping up his final season, but still directing traffic like few others. Sam Jones and Tom Heinsohn were filling it up as scoring threats, while K.C. Jones locked down the perimeter on defense. Then you had John Havlicek, just a rookie that year, already making waves off the bench. Frank Ramsey and Satch Sanders brought hustle, smarts, and veteran experience. And rounding it out was Clyde Lovellette, a skilled big man who added size and production behind Russell. Every one of those names eventually got their call to the Hall. Some were already stars, others were just beginning to build their legacy. Either way, they all shared the same locker room that season. This wasn't a stacked team in the way we talk about super teams now. It was something deeper, a combination of elite talent, incredible chemistry, and a coaching system that maximized each player's strength. The Celtics dominated the era, and this team shows why. 9 Hall of Famers, 1 roster, 1 unforgettable piece of NBA history. No team before or since has packed that much greatness into a single season. 6 number 1 picks. The Cleveland Cavaliers and Washington Wizards are tied for the most number 1 overall picks in NBA draft history. 6 each. That's the all-time record for any franchise, and the paths they took to get there are very different. Cleveland's picks lean modern. It started in 1971 with Austin Carr, then Brad Daugherty in 1986, who became a multiple-time All-Star. But the real fireworks came in 2003 when they drafted LeBron James. That pick alone transformed the franchise and eventually led to an NBA title in 2016. They weren't done. In 2011, they took Kyrie Irving, who played a huge role in that title run too. Then came 2013's pick, Anthony Bennett, which didn't go as planned, but still counts. And just a year later, they selected Andrew Wiggins number 1, before flipping him in a major trade. Washington's record stretches much further back. Their first top pick came in 1953 with Ray Felix, followed by Frank Selvey in 54. Back then, they were the Baltimore Bullets. In the early 60s, they had 3 more number 1s during their time as the Chicago Packers and Zephyrs. Walt Bellamy and Bill McGill were among them. Fast forward to the 2000s, and they took Kwame Brown in 2001 and John Wall in 2010, both under the Washington Wizards name. Cleveland's picks shaped title runs. Washington's picks came through multiple name changes and eras, but both franchises stand with 6 top selections, the most in NBA history, 31 head coaches. The Lakers and Knicks are tied for the most head coaches in NBA history, 31 each. That's 3 decades worth of clipboard carriers, strategy minds, and sideline shouters per franchise. For the Lakers, it started with John Kundla, who led the Minneapolis Lakers to multiple titles in the early days. Then came Bill Sharman in the 70s, introducing fresh training ideas and grabbing a championship. But the Showtime era made Pat Riley a legend. Fast-paced, no nonsense, and always in a suit that looked like it cost more than a bench player's contract. Then came Phil Jackson, the Zen master, stacking up 5 titles and the most coaching wins in Lakers history. Most recently, Frank Vogel delivered the 2020 championship in the bubble. The Knicks' coaching legacy starts with Red Holtzman, the coach behind both of New York's only titles in 1970 and 1973. Joe Lapchick set the tone in the early days. Pat Riley came over from the Lakers in the 90s, trying to bring some of that magic to Madison Square Garden. Lenny Wilkins and Larry Brown both had stints, both Hall of Famers, though results were mixed. And in recent years, Tom Thibodeau has helped revive the franchise with his gritty defensive system. It's fitting that both teams, historic and high profile, sit at the top of the coaching turnover list. Longevity, pressure, market expectations, they all contribute. Some coaches won titles, others just survived a few press conferences. But either way, 31 names have held the top job for each. 20,000 women. That's the number Wilt Chamberlain claimed in his 1991 autobiography, saying he had slept with 20,000 different women over the course of his life. The number didn't come from gossip or tabloids. It came straight from Wilt. He explained it in A View from Above, his own book. According to Wilt, he tracked his encounters using a day timer, a literal calendar, where he marked a check each time he was with a different woman. At one point, he said, he counted 23 check marks over 10 days. That's more than 2 new partners a day. He took that sample rate, cut it in half to be conservative, and then multiplied it by the number of days he'd been sexually active. The math gave him 20,000. The reaction? Let's just say it caused a stir. People questioned the claim's accuracy, but Wilt wasn't trying to run for office. He was talking about how important intimacy was in his life. He compared it to basketball, something he loved, something he pursued fully. He later even said that the deeper point wasn't about quantity at all. It was that one meaningful relationship might be more satisfying than all those numbers combined. Still, the claim stuck. It became part of Wilt's legend, right up there with scoring 100 points in a game. Whether you believe the number or not, it's one of the most jaw-dropping stats ever mentioned in a sports memoir. And it didn't come from the box score. 5 number 1 picks on one roster. The 1959-60 Minneapolis Lakers hold one of the oddest, but most impressive draft-related records in NBA history. They had 5 different number 1 overall draft picks on the same roster at the same time. That's more than any team before or since. It started with Baylor, who had just been taken number 1 overall in 1958 by the Lakers themselves. He wasn't just on the roster, he was their best player, already dominating with scoring and rebound. Then there was Hot Rod Hundley, the top pick in 1957, whose rights were acquired from the Cincinnati Royal. He played a key role in the Lakers' rotation that year. Frank Selvey, picked number 1 in 1954, joined the team during that same season. Ray Felix, the number 1 pick from 1953, was already there, adding depth in the paint. And finally, Chuck Scher, taken first in 1950, was also part of that year's roster. So yes, 5 number 1 picks, all in Lakers uniforms at once. The twist? That team didn't dominate. They finished the regular season with 25 wins and 50 losses, though they still made the playoff, and even pushed the Western Division Finals to 7 games. Still, the record stands. It's not about how many minutes they played or how many titles they won. It's about the sheer unmatched concentration of top draft pedigree. 5 number 1 picks on one team in one season. That's basketball trivia gold, and the Lakers own it. 10 father-son duos. LeBron James has played against 10 different pairs of NBA fathers and their sons. A stat so ridiculous, it feels made up, but it's not. It's a real-time legacy tracker built entirely on staying in the league longer than some players' entire family arc. It started with guys like Rick Brunson, who played in LeBron's early years. Fast forward, and now LeBron's guarding Rick's son, Jalen Brunson. Then there's Gary Payton, the glove, who LeBron faced in the early 2000s. Years later, he matched up with Gary Payton II. Same story for Gary Trent and Gary Trent Jr. Kenyon Martin gave LeBron plenty of playoff battles, and now KJ Martin is trying to guard him. Jabari Smith played in the NBA before his son, Jabari Smith Jr., was even born. Now Jr.'s trying to score on a guy who played against his dad. It keeps going. Adrian Griffin, now a coach, once played against LeBron. AJ Griffin, his son, is now in the league. Juwan Howard, Samaki Walker, Glenn Robinson, Dale Davis, they all had NBA careers that overlapped with LeBron's. And now their sons, Jet Howard, Jabari Walker, Glenn Robinson III, and Trace Jackson Davis, have too. This stat doesn't need explanation. It's not about points or rings. It's about time. LeBron didn't just outlast eras, he overlapped them. Fathers and sons, entire NBA lifespans, and he's still on the court. 10 family duos and counting. 9 teams coaches. Larry Brown holds the record for coaching the most different NBA franchises. 9. That's not 9 jobs total. That's 9 different teams that looked at a whiteboard, a whistle, and a clipboard and said, yep, give it to Larry. He started with the Denver Nuggets, then moved through the New Jersey Nets, San Antonio Spurs, and Los Angeles Clippers. That's 4 already, and he hadn't even reached his most iconic stops. The Indiana Pacers gave him a long stint. The Philadelphia 76ers made the finals under his leadership. Then came the Detroit Pistons, where he finally won his NBA title in 2004. After that, he coached the New York Knicks, and later, the Charlotte Bobcats. But it wasn't just quantity. Larry Brown's resume is quality too. He took 8 of those 9 teams to the playoffs, something no other NBA coach has ever done. Most can barely survive one job. Larry kept getting new ones and making them competitive. He's also the only coach to win both a national college championship and an NBA title. Kansas in 1988 and the Pistons in 2004. Hall of Famer, sideline nomad, and clipboard lifer. Larry Brown didn't just coach, he collected franchises. 9 different teams, 1 legacy of everywhere. 13 former All-Stars traded. During the 2004 NBA season, 13 different former All-Stars were traded, setting a record for the most in any single season. It wasn't just a couple of big names, it was a league-wide reshuffle of players who'd once been centerpieces. Start with the biggest move. Vince Carter got sent from Toronto to New Jersey in December. That deal also included Alonzo Mourning, another multi-time All-Star who was later bought out. Chris Webber, still a major name at the time, was moved from Sacramento to Philadelphia in a blockbuster trade. Gary Payton and Antoine Walker both changed teams that season too, part of complicated movement that began in the offseason and continued into mid-season deals. Then you've got guys like Baron Davis, traded from the Hornets to the Warriors. Dale Davis and Tom Gugliotta were both involved in trades as well. Steve Smith, another veteran All-Star, was moved before wrapping up his career. Same with Vin Baker, who had earlier All-Star years, but found himself part of trade action that season. Clifford Robinson and Glenn Robinson, both former All-Stars, also got moved during this stretch. And Jamal Mashburn was traded despite being injured, still counting as a former All-Star changing teams during the season. So when you stack it up, 13 former All-Stars, all traded in one season, it becomes a snapshot of the league in transition. Some guys were past their peaks, others still had something to give, but the sheer volume of former stars on the move made 2004 a record-setting year for player movement. 52 unique starting lineups. The 2024 to 2025 Philadelphia 76ers officially broke the NBA record for most different starting fives in a single season. 52. That's not a typo. 52 different combinations of 5 players started at least one game. The record-breaking lineup came against the Knicks, passing the previous mark of 51 set by the Grizzlies just the year before. How did this even happen? Injuries mostly. Joel Embiid missed major chunks of the season. Paul George was also sidelined often. Role players rotated in and out, and the team leaned heavily on short-term deals and call-ups. In total, around 21 players started at least once. Some lineups actually worked. Embiid, Maxey, Paul George, Kelly Oubre Jr., and Caleb Martin went 3-0 when used together, but others, not so much. The same core group with rookie Justin Edwards instead of Martin went 0-3. Then there were lineups that looked like they were pulled from a preseason scrimmage. One starting 5 featured Grimes, Lonnie Walker, Ricky Council, Justin Edwards, and Adam Bona. That was the record-setting lineup, number 52. Even some of the more stable combinations, like Embiid, Maxey, George, and Oubre, paired with either Eric Gordon or Gershon Yabusele, only stuck together for short bursts. The constant shuffle made it nearly impossible to build consistency. It wasn't just a stat, it was the season's identity. Injuries, experiments, desperation, all of it added up to 52 unique looks. No other team has ever mixed and matched this much, and now the Sixers own the record, traded twice to the same team. Tim Thomas holds the unusual distinction of being traded from the New York Knicks to the Chicago Bulls, twice during his NBA career. 2 separate deals, 4 years apart, both sending him from Madison Square Garden to the Windy City. The first deal came in October of 2005. The Knicks sent Tim Thomas and others to Chicago in the trade that brought Eddie Curry and Antonio Davis to New York. Thomas barely unpacked. He played only 3 games for the Bulls before being waived by March of the following year. Then came round 2. On February 19th, 2009, the Knicks did it again. This time, they sent Tim Thomas along with Jerome James and Anthony Robertson to the Bulls in exchange for Larry Hughes. That marked his second trade from the Knicks to the Bulls. Same route, same result, different year. It's rare for any player to be traded to the same team twice by the same franchise, but in Thomas's case, it became part of his basketball resume. 2 trades, same direction, same franchises involved. The Knicks called, the Bulls answered. Twice, 21 Canadians. Canada just keeps stacking talent, and now they've hit a number nobody else can touch outside the US. For the 2024 to 2025 NBA season, there are 21 Canadian players on opening night rosters. That's more than any other country not named the United States. And guess what? That's not new. It's actually the 11th straight year they've led all non-US nations in NBA representation. This isn't just a trend, it's a pattern. Every year, Canada's sending more and more players into the league. And now, they're not just filling out rosters. These guys are starting, scoring, and leading teams deep into the playoffs. Canada's influence is real, and it's been building for over a decade now. You've got stars like Shai Gilgeous-Alexander in Oklahoma City, Jamal Murray in Denver, and that's just scratching the surface. RJ Barrett and Kelly Olynyk are both in Toronto. Dylan Brooks is in Houston, and players like Corey Joseph, Zach Edey, Luguentz Dort, and Brandon Clark round out the group. The number that stands out, 125. That's how many international players are on NBA rosters this season, and out of that huge group, Canada owns 21 of them. The numbers say it all. Canada's not just showing up, they're taking over spots, locking down minutes, and pushing their way into the spotlight year after year. No other country has done it like this lately. 11 years in a row and counting. 21 All-Star selections. LeBron James now holds the top spot in one of the NBA's most iconic categories. With 21 All-Star selections, he's officially passed everyone to become the all-time leader in total appearances. No one else in league history has more, but it's not just the number, it's how he got there. These aren't just 21 random appearances sprinkled across a long career. They're 21 in a row. Since his rookie season, way back in 2003, LeBron's been picked every single year through the 2025 season. That's 21 straight seasons of being considered one of the league's best. And that kind of consistency is almost impossible. No other player has ever done that, not once in over 70 years of NBA history. Even though he was selected for the 2025 game, he ended up sitting it out due to a foot and ankle issue. That part doesn't take away from the record. It just shows how long he's been doing this and what it's taken physically to stay at that level. His streak is unmatched, not just in basketball, but across most major sports. 21 All-Star nods means LeBron's not just in the conversation, he's setting the bar. He's played alongside different generations, in different eras, against different stars. And through it all, he's kept getting that call. Year after year, coach after coach, fan vote after fan vote. No other player has been able to do it 21 times in a row. And at this point, it's hard to imagine anyone catching him. 578 missed games. That's how many the Memphis Grizzlies piled up during the 2024 season, setting a brand new NBA record for most games lost due to injury in a single year. Think about that. Almost 600 games gone, just like that. No team in league history has had a season more derailed by health problems. They didn't just shuffle a few lineups. They rolled out 51 different starting groups. That's more changes than some teams make in a decade. On top of that, they used 33 total players, which sounds more like an open tryout than a regular season. You'd need a full team photo just to get everyone in the frame. Morant played only 9 games. First came a 25-game suspension, then a brutal shoulder tear that ended his season. That's about 73 games gone. Desmond Bane missed 42 with ankle and back issues. Marcus Smart sat out 62, thanks to a string of injuries to his ankle and finger. And even Jaren Jackson, usually pretty sturdy, missed 16. This wasn't just bad luck. It was a full-on avalanche. Night after night, the Grizzlies were forced to patch together whatever lineup they could manage. And when you're constantly switching players in and out, there's no rhythm, no chemistry, and definitely no momentum. It was a season of constant adjustment, and most of it wasn't by choice. The final number? 578 games missed. That's not just a stat. It's the story of their entire year, written in tape, braces, and walking boots. 5 starters, 1 Player of the Month award. In January of 2015, the Atlanta Hawks pulled off something the league had never seen before. The entire starting 5, Jeff Teague, Kyle Korver, DeMary Carroll, Paul Millsap, and Al Horford, were named co-winners of the Kia Eastern Conference Player of the Month. That's 5 players, 1 award, and 0 historical precedent. Before that month, the award had always gone to an individual, but what the Hawks did in January was so evenly spread out, so balanced, that the NBA recognized all 5 starters together. They went undefeated, finishing the month 17-0. Every single one of them averaged double figures in scoring, but none cracked 20 points per game. That kind of balance doesn't usually get headlines, but in this case, it earned history. Paul Millsap led the group with around 18.3 points per game. Horford followed with 17.1. Teague added 16.6 and also led in assists. Korver chipped in 13.4 while shooting close to 57% from deep. And DeMar Carroll wasn't far behind at about 12.3. What really stood out was how they did it. They didn't just win, they outscored opponents by nearly 12 points per game. That's total team dominance. No hero ball, no stat padding, just consistent production from everyone. The award wasn't symbolic, it was statistical. It was the first time 5 starters shared the monthly honor, and it hasn't happened again. The record isn't just about wins, it's about 5 players performing so well together that the league had no choice but to give them all the credit. Kawhi's game winner. It's Game 7 of the 2019 Eastern Conference Semifinals, and the Toronto Raptors and Philadelphia 76ers are tied at 90-90 with 4.2 seconds left. Jimmy Butler had just hit a layup to tie it, and now the Raptors have one final possession to decide who goes home. The ball finds Kawhi Leonard on the right baseline corner, and he's got Joel Embiid, a 7-footer, right in his face. Kawhi rises up anyway, releases an off-balance fading jumper, and then something happens that nobody in that building is ready for. The ball hits the rim, once, twice, 3 times, 4 times, and then it drops in. Final score, Toronto 92, Philadelphia 90. That's it. Series over. Raptors move on. And the most wild part is this had literally never happened before. That was the first Game 7 buzzer beater in NBA history. Not just rare, never done. Kawhi finished that game with 41 points on 16 of 39 shooting, which already tells you how hard Philadelphia was making everything for him. And yet he still delivered the most dramatic single shot in playoff history. The Raptors would go on to win the championship that same postseason. But it all started with the ball rattling around the rim 4 separate times before deciding to fall through. It's the most unpredictable ending in playoff history, and it's not particularly close. Clippers comeback. On April 15th, 2019, the Los Angeles Clippers trailed the Golden State Warriors by 31 points. The score was 94-63, and there were 7 minutes and 31 seconds left in the third quarter. The Warriors were the defending champions. They had Kevin Durant, Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, and Draymond Green. Nobody in that building thought the Clippers had any shot at winning. And that's exactly what makes what happened next so historically insane. The Clippers just kept chipping away. Their bench unit started generating offense in transition and in the half court. The deficit shrank to 20, then to 15, then to single digits heading into the fourth quarter. The crowd that had been completely checked out was suddenly locked back in. Then Landry Shamet hit a go-ahead three-pointer with 15.9 seconds remaining to give the Clippers the lead. Final score, Clippers 135, Warriors 131. That's a 31-point comeback against the best team on the planet. It became the largest comeback in NBA playoff history. To pull that off, the Clippers had to outscore a championship roster by 35 plus points over roughly 19 minutes. Teams leading by 30 in the second half almost never lose. There's basically no historical model for what happened here. It wasn't a one-play swing. It was a full-game reversal against a team that had no business letting it happen. T-Mac explosion. On December 9th, 2004, the Houston Rockets trailed the San Antonio Spurs 76-68 with approximately 35 seconds remaining. Normal teams don't come back from that. There's just no time. But Tracy McGrady was not playing a normal game. He hit a three-pointer, then he hit another three-pointer and got fouled, converting the 4-point play to make it a one-possession game. The Spurs, coached by Greg Popovich, one of the greatest late-game coaches in history, still couldn't close it out. McGrady hit a third three-pointer to get within one. Then with 1.7 seconds left, he hit a fourth three-pointer to win the game. Final score, Rockets 81, Spurs 80, 13 points in 35 seconds. 4 three-pointers on 4 shot attempts, plus 1 free throw. That's what he did against the Popovich coach team that knew exactly what was coming and still couldn't stop it. The Spurs had every advantage heading into the final minute. They had the lead. They had possession control. They had one of the most disciplined coaching staffs ever assembled. And Tracy McGrady dismantled all of it in half a minute. Down 8 with 35 seconds left is a loss. Every calculator, every model, every fan in that building tells you it's a loss. McGrady just decided it wasn't, and he backed it up with one of the most efficient scoring bursts in NBA history. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Jordan last shot, June 14th, 1998. Game 6 of the NBA Finals at the Delta Center in Salt Lake City. The Chicago Bulls trailed the Utah Jazz 86-83 with under a minute left. Utah had home court, Utah had Karl Malone and John Stockton, and Utah had a 3-point lead late in a finals game. Chicago's second best player, Scottie Pippen, was barely functional with a back injury that limited him to 8 points. This series was on the verge of a Game 7. Then Michael Jordan hit a driving layup to cut it to 1. Utah had the ball, and Malone caught a post entry with a chance to extend the lead. Jordan came from behind and cleanly stripped him. No double team. Just Jordan reading the play perfectly and taking the ball. Chicago didn't call timeout. They pushed it up the floor immediately, let Jordan isolate against Brian Russell on the right wing, and Jordan crossed him over. Russell slipped, and Jordan pulled up from mid-range with 5.2 seconds left. It went in. Bulls led 87-86. John Stockton launched a 3 at the buzzer that missed, and Chicago won the championship 4-2, completing their second three-peat. Jordan finished with 33 points that night. This was his final shot as a Chicago Bull. No announcements, no farewell tour, just one of the cleanest championship winning sequences in basketball history, executed on the road in elimination territory. Cavs, title swing, June 19th, 2016, Game 7 of the NBA Finals. Cleveland Cavaliers versus the Golden State Warriors, who had finished the regular season 73-9, the best record in NBA history. Cleveland had come back from 3-1, something no team had ever done in finals history. The game was tied 89-89 with under 2 minutes left, and both teams had gone scoreless for over 3 minutes. Then 2 plays happened, back-to-back, that nobody could have predicted. First, Andre Iguodala got a fast break and looked like he was about to put the Warriors ahead. LeBron James chased him down from behind and pinned the layup against the backboard to preserve the tie. Then with 53 seconds left, Kyrie Irving, isolated against Steph Curry, the league's most valuable player, stepped back from the right wing and buried a 3-pointer to give Cleveland a 92-89 lead. LeBron made 1 free throw to push it to 4. Golden State couldn't answer. Final score, Cavaliers 93, Warriors 89. LeBron recorded 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 11 assists. Kyrie scored 26. Cleveland became the first franchise in finals history to win after trailing 3-1. The title was decided by a chase down block, a contested step back 3, and 2 defensive stops in the final 90 seconds. 3 separate plays, 0 margin for error, championship. Reggie, 8 points. May 7th, 1995, Madison Square Garden, Eastern Conference Semifinals, Game 1. The New York Knicks led the Indiana Pacers 105-99 with 18.7 seconds remaining. That's 6 points with under 20 seconds left in a playoff game on the road. This should have been over. Reggie Miller hit a 3-pointer off an inbound pass to cut it to 3. Then the Knicks inbounded, and Miller stole the pass from Anthony Mason immediately. He dribbled back behind the 3-point line and hit another 3-pointer to tie the game at 105. The Garden went silent. Then the Knicks had the ball. John Starks went to the line and missed both free throws. Patrick Ewing grabbed the offensive rebound and missed the putback. Miller grabbed the rebound, got fouled with 7.5 seconds left, and made both free throws to give Indiana the lead at 107-105. Knicks couldn't get a shot off. Final, Pacers 107, Knicks 105. 8 points in 9 seconds. That's the official record for that sequence. And to make it happen, Miller needed 2 made threes, a live ball steal off an inbound, 2 missed clutch free throws from the opponent, a missed putback from a Hall of Fame center, a rebound, and 2 made free throws under maximum pressure. Every single one of those things had to happen in order. And they did. Nuggets comeback. In the 2020 NBA playoffs, inside the Orlando bubble, the Denver Nuggets did something that had never been done in NBA history. They came back from 3-1, not once, but twice, in the same postseason. The first time was against the Utah Jazz in the first round. Down 3-1, Denver won 3 straight to advance. The second time was against the Los Angeles Clippers in the conference semifinals. Down 3-1 again, the Nuggets again won 3 straight. 2 separate 3-1 comebacks in the same playoff run. That had never happened before in league history, and it still hasn't happened since. Coming back from 3-1 even once was historically rare going into that postseason. Only a small number of teams had ever done it. Denver did it twice in back-to-back series, surviving 6 consecutive elimination games without losing a single one. Against the Clippers specifically, the Nuggets trailed by double digits in games 5, 6, and 7 before coming back in each. The Clippers had championship-level talent and came into that postseason as one of the favorites to win the title. Denver erased them 3 straight times when their season was on the line. The statistical compounding of winning 6 must-win games consecutively makes this one of the most improbable postseason runs ever documented. There's no reasonable probability model that would have predicted Denver doing this twice in the same year. Allen Corner 3. Game 6 of the 2013 NBA Finals. The San Antonio Spurs were seconds away from winning the championship. The Miami Heat were down 3 points with under 30 seconds left and no margin for anything to go wrong. LeBron James launched a potential tying 3 that missed. Chris Bosh crashed the glass, grabbed the offensive rebound, and immediately kicked it to Ray Allen in the right corner. Allen was backpedaling toward the baseline. He reset his feet, found the corner line without looking down, and released a 3-pointer with 5.2 seconds remaining. It went in, tied at 100-100. The championship trophy preparations that had already started on the sideline were immediately stopped. Spurs had no timeout. Game went to overtime, and Miami won 103-100 in overtime to force a Game 7, which they also won to claim the title. That single Allen shot represented a roughly 35% swing in win probability according to statistical models. Without it, San Antonio wins the championship in 6 games. What makes it so difficult to process is how many things had to go right simultaneously. LeBron had to miss. Bosh had to out-rebound Spurs players. The pass had to be instant and accurate, and Allen had to hit a pressure three while moving backward without setting his feet cleanly. Every piece of that sequence was low probability, and all of it worked. Lillard dagger. Game 6 of the 2014 first-round playoffs. Portland Trail Blazers and Houston Rockets. Portland led the series 3-2, so a win would close it out. Houston led 98-96 with 0.9 seconds on the clock. Under 1 second, Nicholas Batum inbounded the ball from the sideline, and Damian Lillard caught it and shot it in one motion. No dribble, no setup, just catch and fire in under a second. The ball went in. Blazers win 99-98. Series over. Lillard was in his second NBA season. The sheer time constraint alone makes this one of the most difficult shots ever attempted in a playoff setting. Catch and shoot game winners under 1 second require a perfect inbound pass, a perfect catch, and an immediate release with enough distance and arc to go in. There's no room for hesitation or adjustment. Lillard had none of either. The Rockets, who were facing elimination, went from expecting a Game 7 to watching the series end instantly on a shot that took less than a second from catch to release. There's no timeout, no recovery, no response. The series just ended, and the shot itself was from a distance, and under a time constraint that most players couldn't even attempt cleanly. Lillard made it look almost routine, which somehow makes it even more unsettling to think about. White putback, May 27, 2023, Eastern Conference Finals, Game 6. The Miami Heat led the Boston Celtics 103-102 with 3 seconds remaining. Boston had possession, and Derek White inbounded the ball to Marcus Smart. Smart launched a three-pointer with roughly 2 seconds left that hit the front rim and bounced up. White, who had just inbounded the ball and was re-entering the court, immediately sprinted toward the basket. He tracked the rebound mid-air and tipped the ball through the basket with 0.1 seconds left. Final, Celtics 104, Heat 103. The play required replay review to confirm the shot was legal, which is standard for buzzer beaters that close. White became only the second player in NBA history to hit a buzzer beater while trailing and facing elimination simultaneously. The sequence demanded that he start out of bounds, recognize the missed shot instantly, get back inbounds in time, track the ball in the air, and release a legal tip in less than 1/10 of a second. Jimmy Butler had scored 13 points in the final minutes of that game alone to give Miami the lead, so the Celtics had already used up everything just to stay close. Then the inbound passer saved them anyway. Boston had been down 3-0 earlier in the series before forcing Game 6. It took the most improbable tip in to keep them alive. Evans heave. December 29th, 2010. Sacramento Kings and Memphis Grizzlies. Kings trailing 98-97 in the final seconds. The ball found Tyreke Evans in the backcourt. Evans dribbled across half court and then launched a shot from beyond midcourt, roughly 50 to 60 feet from the basket, just before the buzzer. It went in. Kings win 100-98. Full court buzzer beaters are among the rarest made shots in NBA history, and this one wasn't a set play. Evans didn't catch and fire from a designed inbound. He created the shot himself off the dribble from an extreme distance with no structural setup. The ball had to travel more than half the length of the floor, maintain correct arc and alignment, and enter the basket cleanly after Evans released it without a chance to properly set his feet. These shots succeed at a rate that makes them almost statistical anomalies every time one goes in. The Kings were trailing late, the situation was dire, and Evans did the one thing nobody realistically expects to work. He pulled up from 60 feet and made it. It's one of the longest game-winning shots in recorded NBA history. There's no model, no scout, and no coaching staff in the league that accounts for that shot as a legitimate offensive weapon. It happened anyway, and it gave Sacramento a win they had no business getting by any conventional measure of basketball probability. Magic Center, May 16th, 1980. NBA Finals Game 6. Los Angeles Lakers versus Philadelphia 76ers. Lakers led the series 3-2, but before the game, Kareem was ruled out with a severe ankle injury suffered in Game 5. Kareem had been averaging 33.4 points per game in the series. He was their starting center, their primary scorer, and their defensive anchor. Without him, the Lakers turned to rookie Magic Johnson, a point guard listed at 6 feet 9 inches, to start at center. And then Magic Johnson played one of the most statistically extraordinary games in finals history. 42 points, 15 rebounds, 7 assists, 3 steals, 1 block. He went 14 for 14 from the free throw line. Perfect. Jamal Wilkes added 37 points, a career high at the time. The Lakers won 123-107 and clinched the championship without their best player on the floor. Magic played all 5 positions during the game. He guarded opposing big men, initiated offense from the point, and finished in the post. He became the only rookie in NBA history to win Finals Most Valuable Player. The unpredictability here is layered. The Lakers lost their best player before an elimination game. A rookie point guard started at center in the final, and then that rookie delivered a 42.15 rebound performance to win a title. None of that is supposed to happen. All of it did. Durant foot. Game 7 of the 2021 Eastern Conference semifinals. Brooklyn Nets and Milwaukee Bucks. Nets trailing 109-107 in the final seconds. Kevin Durant isolated at the top of the key against PJ Tucker and rose for a turnaround fadeaway jumper as time expired. The ball went in. The arena exploded. It looked like Durant had just hit a series-winning three-pointer. Then the replay came back, and Durant's toe was on the three-point line. The shot was ruled a 2, tying the game at 109-109 with 0.3 seconds remaining. Game went to overtime, and Milwaukee won 115-111. Durant had scored 48 points in that game, the most points ever recorded in a Game 7 in NBA history. And it still wasn't enough because of where his foot landed. Durant wears a size 18 shoe. The difference between series over in regulation and overtime, which Brooklyn lost, came down to centimeters of foot placement on one of the most high-pressure shots in recent playoff history. Same shot, 1 inch back, and the Nets win instantly. The way it landed, the Nets went to overtime, exhausted from the effort it took to force the situation, and they couldn't hold on. An entire playoff series, all 7 games, all the momentum, all the history, flipped by a toe on a line. It's one of the cruelest margins in postseason history. Luka stepped back. Game 4 of the 2020 Western Conference first round. Orlando Bubble. Dallas Mavericks versus Los Angeles Clippers. Overtime, game tied 133-133. Mavericks without Kristaps Porzingis due to injury. Luka had the ball at the top of the floor in isolation. He was 21 years old. He stepped back from approximately 28 feet, contested by multiple defenders switching onto him, and released a three-pointer as time expired. Mavericks win 135-133. Series tied 2-2. Instead of Dallas falling behind 3-1, Luka finished that game with 43 points, 17 rebounds, and 13 assists. That's the highest scoring playoff, triple-double performance in recent NBA history. The shot itself required everything going wrong for the Clippers simultaneously. No screen, no ball movement, just Luka creating space at distance against a defense that knew exactly what was coming and still couldn't stop it. Overtime, buzzer beaters are inherently rare because both teams have already spent multiple periods figuring each other out. Adding the distance, the defensive contest, and the fatigue factor of playing extra basketball makes this type of shot succeed almost never. Luka was also playing on a neutral court in the bubble with no home crowd advantage to lean on. Everything pointed toward this shot missing. 43 points, 17 boards, 13 dimes, and a walk-off overtime 3 from 28 feet at 21 years old. Lamb Heave, March 24th, 2019. Charlotte Hornets and Toronto Raptors, regular season. Raptors led 114-112 with 3.6 seconds left. A win felt automatic for Toronto. The Hornets inbounded the ball after a timeout, and the ball reached Jeremy Lamb near midcourt. Lamb took one dribble and launched from approximately 50-plus feet as the buzzer sounded. It went in. Hornets win 115-114. That's a half-court buzzer beater that flipped the game from loss to win in under 4 seconds with no real alternative plan. The Raptors had taken the lead late. They had defended the situation correctly, but a shot from that distance doesn't follow the rules of correct defense because the shooter isn't supposed to make it. Half-court attempts go in at a rate so low, they're essentially treated as coin flips, except worse. Success from that range is closer to a long shot than any standard offensive possession. Lamb didn't have time to advance the ball further, so the only option was to launch from wherever he was standing and hope. The fact that it went in isn't a reflection of skill at that distance. It's a reflection of just how wildly unpredictable single possession endings can be. The Raptors were one of the best teams in the NBA that season on their way to winning the championship. They lost a regular season game because of a 50-foot heave from a player who barely had time to gather himself. Lillard, OKC. April 23rd, 2019, first round, Game 5, Portland Trail Blazers and Oklahoma City Thunder. Portland led the series 3-1, meaning a win would end it. The game was tied 115-115 with under 10 seconds left. Damian Lillard had the ball near half court, guarded by Paul George. He didn't call a play. He didn't come off a screen. He just dribbled down the clock, pulled up from 37 feet, and released the shot at the buzzer. Blazers win 118-115. Series over. Portland eliminated Oklahoma City 4-1. Lillard had already scored 50 points in that game and made 10 3-pointers, which was a franchise playoff record. So when he pulled up from 37 feet to end it, he was doing so as the hottest player in that building by a significant margin. Paul George was in his face at distance, and it still didn't matter. This was also Lillard's second career series-ending buzzer beater after hitting one against Houston in 2014. He became the only player besides Michael Jordan with multiple series-ending field goals. The Oklahoma City 2018 to 2019 roster was the final time Russell Westbrook and Paul George played together. Lillard ended their era with a 37-foot step back at the buzzer. Oklahoma City had swept Portland in the regular season that year, winning all 4 matchups. Lillard got the last word anyway. Brunson closer. Jalen Brunson in a playoff elimination game, controlling the final possession with the game tied or within 1 possession in the final seconds. Brunson isolated, created his own shot in the closing seconds, and delivered the game winner to eliminate Detroit from the series. That's the structure of one of the most pressure-packed situations in basketball. Elimination games are different. The defensive intensity is higher, the offensive execution becomes more difficult, and the margin for error disappears entirely. What makes a single possession game winner in an elimination game so difficult to execute is that the defense doesn't have to stop you forever. They just have to stop you once. Brunson created scoring opportunity under that exact pressure, converted it, and ended the series immediately on that possession. Final possession elimination game winners occur far less frequently than standard game winners because of the weight of the moment. Every coaching staff in the league designs their defense to take away the primary score in closing situations, collapsing coverage, switching everything, selling out to contest. Brunson got a shot off anyway and converted it. The finality of it is what makes it register historically. There's no overtime, no Game 7, no second chance for Detroit, 1 possession, 1 shot, series over. Players who can consistently create in those moments are among the rarest in the sport, and Brunson delivered in exactly the situation where most players' execution falls apart. It's as direct a definition of clutch as the game produces. Anderson misses, June 7, 1995, NBA Finals, Game 1, Orlando Magic and Houston Rockets. Orlando led 110-107 with 10.5 seconds remaining. The Magic had the best record in the Eastern Conference that season, 57 wins, and this was their first finals game in franchise history. Nick Anderson was fouled by Robert Horry with the game in hand. Anderson, a 70.4% free throw shooter that season, stepped to the line, needing just 1 make to essentially end it. He missed the first. He missed the second. Orlando grabbed the offensive rebound. Anderson was fouled again, and he missed the 3rd free throw. Then he missed the 4th. 4 consecutive missed free throws by an above-average free throw shooter. Houston gained possession, and Kenny Smith hit a 3-pointer with 1.6 seconds left to tie the game. Overtime. Hakeem Olajuwon hit a game-winning tip in with 0.3 seconds remaining. Rockets win 120-118 in overtime. Houston swept the series 4-0. The statistical reality of missing 4 consecutive free throws at 70.4% is genuinely low. Each miss was improbable individually. All 4 in sequence is nearly incomprehensible, and the fallout was real. Anderson's free throw percentage dropped significantly after this game and never fully recovered. Orlando's best chance at a championship vanished at the free throw line, with the series on the verge of tilting their direction in Game 1. Fisher, 0.4. Game 5 of the 2004 Western Conference Semifinals. Los Angeles Lakers and San Antonio Spurs tied 2-2. Kobe Bryant gave the Lakers a 72-71 lead with about 11 seconds left. Tim Duncan answered with a highly contested fadeaway over Shaq to put the Spurs up 73-72 with 0.4 seconds remaining. 3 consecutive timeouts followed. 1 Lakers, 1 Spurs, 1 Lakers again. Then Gary Payton inbounded the ball to Derek Fisher, who caught it, turned and shot in 0.4 seconds total with no dribble. The ball went in. Lakers win 74-73. The Spurs immediately disputed whether Fisher released the shot before the clock expired, and officials reviewed and confirmed the shot was legal. 0.4 seconds is widely considered the absolute minimum window to catch and shoot cleanly. That's not just a fast release. That's the edge of what's physically possible in the time allotted. And Fisher nailed it immediately after Tim Duncan had just hit one of the most difficult shots of that era. On the other, 2 consecutive extreme difficulty shots in under 30 seconds, and the second one won the game. Lakers took a 3-2 series lead and won the series in 6 games. The sequence was Duncan over O'Neal, timeout chaos, then Fisher in under half a second. It's one of the shortest game-winning windows ever recorded in NBA playoff history. Rose winner. Game 3 of the 2015 Eastern Conference semifinals. Chicago Bulls and Cleveland Cavaliers tied 1-1 in the series. J.R. Smith hit a 3-pointer with about 10 seconds left to tie the game at 96-96. Bulls inbounded with approximately 3 seconds remaining. Derrick Rose caught the ball, took one dribble right, and launched a 3-pointer from approximately 26 feet. The ball banked off the glass as time expired. Bulls win 99-96. Rose scored 30 points, grabbed 7 rebounds, and dished 7 assists in that game. It was the first Bulls playoff game winner in final seconds since Michael Jordan in the 1998 finals. Rose himself confirmed afterward that he did not call the bank off the glass. It went off the backboard accidentally and still fell through. A banked 3-pointer from 26 feet at the buzzer of a playoff game, unintentionally, against a defense that included LeBron James and the Cavaliers. The shot was off balance. It was contested by Tristan Thompson, and the bank angle was not a designed outcome. Game winners rely on execution. This one relied on improvised movement, off-balance mechanics, and an unplanned glass angle, all working simultaneously. Chicago took a 2-1 series lead. The Cavaliers responded with LeBron's own buzzer beater in Game 4. But in Game 3, Derrick Rose delivered one of the most unlikely shot types imaginable in one of the highest pressure moments of that postseason. LJ 4-point. Game 3 of the 1999 Eastern Conference Finals. New York Knicks and Indiana Pacers. Context matters here because the Knicks had no business being in that series. They were the number 8 seed and they were playing without Patrick Ewing, who was injured. With 11.9 seconds left, the Knicks trailed 91-88. 3 points, no timeouts. Larry Johnson caught the ball beyond the 3-point line and shot with defender Antonio Davis, making contact during the shooting motion. The whistle blew. Continuation was called. Johnson made the 3-pointer and then converted the free throw to complete a 4-point play. Knicks win 92-91. The Pacers disputed the timing of the foul call and whether the contact occurred before or during the release. The officials confirmed it stood. 3-point deficit, 1 possession, 1 play, 4-point. Game flip. The statistical rarity of a 4-point play itself is significant. At the time, they were among the rarest outcomes in NBA basketball. Pulling one off in the conference finals while trailing by 3 with no timeouts makes it exponentially more improbable. The entire sequence depended on a referee ruling a contested foul on the exact frame of the shot motion, Johnson making the 3, and then converting the pressure free throw. All 3 had to succeed. They did. New York went on to win that series and became the first number 8 seed in NBA history to reach the final. George Muresan. He's 7 feet 7 inches tall, which makes him the tallest player in NBA history, tied with Manute Bol and recognized by the Guinness World Records. The Washington Bullets drafted him 30th overall in 1993, and for a few years, he was genuinely one of the most efficient scorers in the entire league. In 1995 to 1996, he averaged 14.5 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 2.3 blocks per game. He led the NBA in field goal percentage that season, and then did it again the following year in 1996 to 1997, back-to-back. That's not a coincidence. When you're 7'7", you're releasing the ball at a height most defenders can't reach, even with a full jump. He won the NBA Most Improved Player Award in 1996, which tells you how quickly he developed once he got his footing in the league. He played 307 career games across stints with the Bullets, who later became the Wizards and the New Jersey Nets. His career was shortened by injuries and the natural limitations that come with extreme size, but the production he put up while healthy was real. His extreme height came from a pituitary gland disorder, the same condition responsible for gigantism in many of the tallest humans ever recorded. He wasn't just tall for a basketball player, he was tall by any global standard, making his NBA career one of the most physically unique in the history of the sport. Manute Bol. He's listed at 7 feet 6 to 7 feet 7 inches, depending on the measurement source, which ties him with George Muresan as the tallest player in NBA history. But what separates Bol from every other giant who ever played is the wingspan, 8 feet, the longest ever recorded in the NBA. His standing reach was around 10 feet, which means he was touching the rim before he even left the ground. He played 624 NBA games from 1985 to 1995 across 4 different teams, and the statistical record he left behind is genuinely unlike anything the league has ever seen. He's the only player in NBA history to retire with more blocked shots than total points scored. He led the NBA in blocks in 1986 and again in 1989. As a rookie, he set the NBA record for blocks by a first-year player. In a single half, he blocked 11 shots, tying an NBA record. He blocked 8 shots in a single quarter on multiple occasions. His block rate was roughly 1 every 5.6 minutes of playing time, which is an absurd ratio. Later in his career, he even started attempting 3-pointers, and in a 1993 game, he hit 6 threes in one half. His body weight hovered around 200 pounds, which is remarkably light for someone that tall, but his wingspan made up for everything. Defensively, Bol operated at a level the league has never come close to replicating since. Shawn Bradley. He's 7 feet 6 inches tall and was selected 2nd overall in the 1993 NBA draft, which tells you exactly how much teams valued his size coming in. He played 12 NBA seasons from 1993 to 2005, appeared in 832 career games, and averaged 2.5 blocks per game for his entire career, which ranks among the highest all-time averages in league history. He played for the Philadelphia 76ers, the New Jersey Nets, and then the Dallas Mavericks, where he spent 9 seasons anchoring the interior defense alongside Dirk Nowitzki and Steve Nash. His career averages were 8.1 points, 6.3 rebounds, and 2.5 blocks per game. For a 7-footer who played that many games across that many seasons, the consistency of his rim protection was real and measurable. He's one of the very few players at extreme height who managed to sustain an 800-plus game career, which is something most giants never come close to achieving. The physical demands on the body at 7'6" make longevity incredibly difficult, and Bradley is one of the rare cases where the frame held up long enough to matter at a team level for over a decade. In 2021, he suffered a spinal cord injury that resulted in paralysis. That fact puts everything else in context. He gave 12 seasons to the league, blocked shots at an elite career rate, and helped define what it looks like to actually sustain extreme size in the NBA. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Taco Fall. At the 2019 NBA Draft Combine, he set 3 records simultaneously. Tallest height ever measured at the Combine. Longest wingspan ever recorded. Highest standing reach ever recorded. His standing reach exceeded 10 feet, which means he could touch the rim without leaving the ground. He's listed at 7 feet 6 inches and 311 pounds, and his shoe size is a reported size 22, one of the largest in NBA history. His measured vertical leap was limited, around 2 feet, which shows exactly how much he was relying on natural height rather than explosiveness. During his college career at UCF, he shot 74% from the field, one of the highest field goal percentages in NCAA Division I history. He recorded 280 career blocks, which is the UCF all-time record, and he averaged 2.6 blocks per game in his final season. Despite all of that, he went undrafted in 2019. His NBA time was limited because of slow lateral movement and difficulty defending pick-and-roll situations, 2 things that matter enormously at the professional level. He became a fan favorite because of how rare his size actually is, not just among basketball players, but among humans globally. Teams were forced to arc shots significantly higher just to avoid his reach, and his paint presence alone altered how opponents approached the basket. He represents the modern ceiling of height versus mobility trade-off, where the measurements are historically extreme, but the translation to NBA minutes is genuinely complicated. Yao Ming. He's 7 feet 6 inches tall and weighed around 310 pounds during his playing days, and both of his parents were professional basketball players in China, which gives his height a rare genetic explanation. He played 9 NBA seasons, made 8 All-Star appearances, earned 5 All-NBA selections, and averaged 19 points, 9 rebounds, and nearly 2 blocks per game for his career. Those numbers are elite by any standard, not just for a player his size. What made Yao different from most giants is that his skill level matched his size. He had advanced footwork in the post, a compact shooting motion despite his height, reliable mid-range touch, and the ability to draw double teams consistently, which opened up spacing for teammates even without the ball in his hands. Shaquille O'Neal, one of the most dominant centers in the league history, had to adjust his entire defensive approach when matched up against Yao. Teams were forced to carry multiple 7-foot centers, specifically to have a chance at matching his size on a given night. His career was ultimately shortened by repeated foot and ankle stress fractures, which is a direct consequence of the load his body mass placed on his lower frame. He retired after 9 seasons, which was earlier than his production suggested he should have, but the level he reached while healthy, all-star caliber output, combined with a 7'6" frame, represents the highest ceiling that size and skill have ever combined to produce in NBA history. Simbular. He measured 226 centimeters, which converts to roughly 7 feet 5 inches, and he weighed 140 kilograms, making him one of the heaviest players ever to appear in an NBA game. The Sacramento Kings signed him during the 2014-15 season, and in doing so, made him the first player of Indian descent to ever play in an NBA game. That's the milestone that defines his NBA story more than any statistic. His physical profile was unlike most big men in the league. His frame combined extreme height with extreme body mass, which created serious challenges around conditioning, speed in transition, and defensive mobility. He was used primarily as a low-post interior presence in limited minutes, and his time in the NBA was spent largely in the G League rather than on active rosters. After his NBA stint ended, he played professionally in Taiwan and took home league awards there, which shows that his size translated far better in leagues where the pace and switching demands were lower. He also played in Asian professional leagues throughout his career. His NBA career is short in terms of minutes and games, but the significance of what he represented nationally and regionally in terms of basketball representation made his appearance meaningful beyond the box score. He stands as one of the largest body frames in the documented history of the sport, combining elite height with mass that exceeded most NBA centers. That combination is rare enough to put him firmly in the conversation about the upper physical limits of the game. Chuck Nevitt. He's 7 feet 5 inches tall and weighed 217 pounds during his playing days, which made him one of the lightest players ever at that height in league history. He played 9 NBA seasons from 1983 to 1994 and appeared in 155 total games, averaging just 5.3 minutes per appearance. His career totals were 251 points, 239 rebounds, and 111 blocks. He played for the Houston Rockets, Los Angeles Lakers, Detroit Pistons, Chicago Bulls, and San Antonio Spurs, which means he was around long enough to cycle through 5 different organizations. The standout factual detail in his career is that he was on the 1985 Los Angeles Lakers championship roster, making him the tallest player in NBA history to win a championship. He played playoff minutes in 5 separate postseasons. He played alongside Magic Johnson with the Lakers and alongside Michael Jordan with the Bulls. His usage was almost entirely situational, brought in specifically for moments where teams wanted to counter extreme size on the other end. He was nicknamed the Human Victory Cigar, which reflects exactly how his teammates and coaches viewed his role. He played 1 game with the San Antonio Spurs and scored 3 free throw points in under 1 minute. His career shows what happens at the extreme edge of height when mobility becomes the limiting factor. He stayed in the league for 9 seasons, not because of production, but because 7 feet 5 is simply too rare to cut. Size was his entire NBA identity from start to finish. Pavel Podkolzin. He's 7 feet 5 inches tall and weighed 305 pounds, which makes him one of the heaviest players ever recorded at that height in NBA history. The Utah Jazz selected him 21st overall in the 2004 NBA draft and then immediately traded him to the Dallas Mavericks. He played 2 seasons in the NBA from 2004 to 2006, with significant time spent in the NBA Development League with the Fort Worth Flyers. Before entering the draft, he played professionally in Russian leagues and in the Italian league with Metis Varese from 2002 to 2004. After his NBA time ended, he returned to professional basketball in Russia and played there through 2019 across multiple teams. That career path shows a player whose NBA translation was limited, but whose professional career internationally lasted well over a decade. The reason his NBA time was brief follows a consistent pattern seen across players at extreme size. Conditioning challenges, physical development limitations, and the speed requirements of the NBA made sustaining rotation minutes difficult at 305 pounds and 7'5". He was drafted in the first round entirely on physical upside, which is a recurring theme at this height. The rare combination of extreme height with over 300 pounds of body mass created a frame that was simply difficult to develop quickly enough for the league's pace. In 2025, he became the tallest professional soccer player in Russian Cup history, which adds an unusual footnote to a career defined almost entirely by what his body measured rather than what it produced. Slavko Vranic. He's listed at 7 feet 5 inches, and his NBA career lasted exactly one game, January 8th, 2004, with the Portland Trail Blazers. He played 3 minutes, missed his only shot attempt, and picked up 1 foul. That's the entire NBA record for one of the tallest players the league has ever seen. The New York Knicks drafted him 39th overall in the 2003 NBA draft. Despite the minimal NBA time, his professional basketball career was long and genuinely decorated. He played in Europe from 1997 to 2018, competing for clubs including Partizan Belgrade, Unix Kazan, and Crvena Zvezda. During that stretch, he won the Eurocup championship in 2011 and claimed 3 ABA league titles. He also represented the Montenegro national team in international competition. His career is one of the clearest examples in basketball history of extreme height not translating into NBA staying power while still producing sustained success elsewhere. The European game suited his size and skill set in a way the NBA pace never did. At 7'5", he was tall enough to be drafted in the second round of an NBA draft, but the physical demands of the league, specifically the speed, the switching, and the conditioning required across an 82-game season, made it nearly impossible for him to carve out a real role. His one-game appearance keeps him in the record books as one of the shortest NBA careers ever recorded by one of the tallest players ever measured. His story is proof that height and NBA longevity operate almost completely independently of each other. Mark Eaton. He's 7 feet 4 inches tall and played his entire career with the Utah Jazz. He holds the NBA single-season block record with 456 blocks in 1984 to 1985. He also holds the highest blocks per game season average ever recorded at 5.6. For his entire career, he averaged 3.5 blocks per game, which is the highest career blocks per game average in NBA history. His total career block count was 3,064. He won Defensive Player of the Year twice, led the NBA in blocks 4 times, made 5 all-defensive teams, and played in the 1989 All-Star Game. Before he was on the Jazz roster, Utah was winning around 30 games. After he became their starting center and defensive anchor, they made the playoffs in 10 consecutive seasons. His standing reach meant he could contest shots without leaving the ground, which reduced his foul rate and allowed him to stay on the floor longer in critical moments. The trade-off was on the offensive end, where he never scored more than 10 points per game in any single season. His career scoring average was 3.4 points per game, which reflects the narrow role he was given. But within that role, he was historically dominant. No player in NBA history translated extreme height into measurable defensive statistical output at the level Eaton did. His rim protection wasn't just effective, it was statistically the most impactful version of height-based defense the league has ever recorded in its official record books. Priest Lauderdale. He measured 7 feet 4 inches and weighed around 325 pounds, which made him one of the heaviest players ever recorded at that height in NBA history. He played in the NBA from 1996 to 1998, appearing in 74 total games. His career averages were 3.4 points per game and 1.9 rebounds per game. Those numbers reflect the challenge his size created on the court. At 325 pounds and 7'4", the speed required to keep up with NBA pace was genuinely difficult to maintain. Stamina, lateral movement, and defensive rotations were all areas where his extreme mass created real limitations. His role was interior presence, but the league had shifted in ways that made standing still in the post less viable than it had been in earlier decades. After his NBA career ended, he played professionally in multiple countries, including China, Spain, In leagues in the Middle East, that international career path shows a player whose size was valuable in context where the physical demands were different from what the NBA required. His story fits a specific category that appears multiple times across the history of giant players, where the body frame exceeds the functional athletic threshold that the NBA game demands. 325 pounds is simply an enormous amount of mass for any frame to carry through transition defense and pick and roll coverages over the course of an entire season. He represents the upper physical limit of the sport, where height and mass combine to create a presence that was hard to ignore, but even harder to sustain. Boban Marjanovic, he's 7 feet 4 inches tall and weighed around 290 pounds during his NBA career. His extreme height is linked to a pituitary gland condition, which is notable because his parents were of average height, making his growth unusual from a genetic standpoint. Before entering the NBA, he won the EuroLeague First Team Award in 2015 and collected multiple MVP honors in the Serbian League, where his size advantage was dominant enough to make him one of the most decorated big men in European basketball. In the NBA, he was used in a specialized role due to pick and roll, defense limitations, and perimeter switching issues, which kept his minutes restricted. But within those limited minutes, his production was genuinely efficient. His career averages were 5.9 points and 3.8 rebounds per game. But those numbers come on minimal court time, meaning his per-minute production was among the highest ever recorded for a center of his size. His standing reach allowed him to finish at the rim without significant elevation, and his offensive rebounding in short bursts was nearly impossible to counter because of how his reach extended beyond any realistic contest ring. He was used as a situational scoring center and a matchup-specific interior weapon throughout his NBA career with multiple teams. He's a clear example of how modern NBA teams learn to extract value from extreme size through smart targeted deployment rather than heavy usage. He didn't need 30 minutes to matter. He just needed the right matchup. And when he got it, the results were consistently efficient. Ralph Sampson. He was drafted first overall in the 1983 NBA draft by the Houston Rockets. And by the end of his third season, he had averaged 20.7 points and 10.9 rebounds per game. He won NBA Rookie of the Year in 1984. He made 4 consecutive All-Star teams from 1984 to 1987 and won the 1985 All-Star Game. He was named to the All-NBA Second Team in 1985 and was inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame in 2011. At 7 feet 4 inches, he played both center and power forward, and he had ball handling ability, face-up scoring, and passing skills that were essentially unheard of for a player his size in that era. He paired with Hakeem Olajuwon to form the Twin Towers lineup in Houston, and that combination led the Rockets to the 1986 NBA Finals. Before entering the NBA, he won the National College Player of the Year award 3 consecutive times from 1981 to 1983, making him one of the most decorated college players at that size in history. His career was cut short by multiple knee surgeries, and his production dropped sharply after his first 3 seasons. He played 9 total NBA seasons, which was far less than his early dominance suggested was coming. His career is one of the clearest examples of what the combination of elite size and guard-level skill looks like before injuries change everything. He was the prototype for what people now call a unicorn big man, Rick Smits. He was drafted 2nd overall in the 1988 NBA draft and played his entire 12-season career with the Indiana Pacers. He appeared in 867 games, started 792 of them, and averaged 26.6 minutes per game across his career. His career totals were 12,871 points, 5,277 rebounds, and 1,111 blocks. His averages were 14.8 points, 6.1 rebounds, and 1.3 blocks per game. He made the NBA All-Star Team in 1998. He won the All-Rookie First Team Award in 1989 and reached the 2000 NBA Finals with the Pacers. At 7 feet 4 inches and 265 pounds, he was a traditional interior center who provided consistent production across more than a decade as a starter. He played alongside Reggie Miller and Mark Jackson on the Pacers teams of the 1990s, which were one of the most competitive Eastern Conference franchises of that era. His longevity is the defining characteristic of his career. Most players at extreme height struggle to last more than a few seasons in the NBA because of the physical wear, but Smits maintained his role as a starting center for over a decade without major durability issues derailing his career. He's one of a very small group of players who were 7'4" or taller and still managed 800-plus games, consistent all-star level production, and a finals appearance. His career defines what durable, traditional Giant center basketball looked like across the entire decade of the 90s. Wemby. He was drafted first overall in the 2023 NBA draft by the San Antonio Spurs. He won NBA Rookie of the Year unanimously and also won the NBA Defensive Player of the Year award in his third season. He was named to the All-Defensive First Team and led the NBA in blocks multiple times in the early part of his career. He became the first player in NBA history to record 250-plus blocks and 100-plus three-pointers in the same season. He also recorded a 5x5 game, which means 5 or more in 5 statistical categories simultaneously, as the youngest player in league history to accomplish that. He's listed at 7 feet tall, with an estimated wingspan of around 8 feet. His mobility is genuinely uncommon for a player above 7 feet, and he's deployed in both interior and perimeter roles, making him functionally positionless in how his teams use him. He can protect the rim and then step out to guard. On the perimeter, he can finish at the basket and then create off the dribble from the three-point line. And he can block shots on one end and shoot from 25 feet on the other. He was identified as a potential top pick as young as age 16. He was considered the most anticipated draft prospect since LeBron James entered the league. The combination of his height, wingspan, mobility, perimeter shooting, and shot creation off the dribble is historically unusual for any player at any size, let alone one over 7 feet tall. He represents the current evolution of what the Giant archetype can become. Bol. He's 7 feet 3 inches tall and weighs approximately 220 pounds, which makes him notably lighter than most centers at that height. His father is Manute Bol, who measured 7 feet 7 inches, making the Bol family one of the only multi-generational extreme height lineages in NBA history. During his freshman season at Oregon, Bol averaged 21 points, 9.6 rebounds, and 2.7 blocks per game before a foot injury ended the year early. He was drafted 44th overall in the 2019 NBA draft. What separates him from most players at his size is his skill profile. He has guard-level ball handling, perimeter shooting range, and enough fluidity in transition to play as a hybrid between center and power forward. His shot release point is almost impossible to block because of his height combined with his length, and his ability to stretch the floor while also protecting the rim makes him a unique matchup problem. His durability has been a concern throughout his career, starting with the college foot injury, and his lighter frame creates challenges when defending stronger interior players who can physically overpower him. His standing reach at 7'3" would estimate near 9 feet 7 to 10 feet, meaning his contest radius extends to areas most players can never threaten. He's used situationally because of the defense positioning inconsistencies that come with his build, but offensively, he can do things from 7'3" that no traditional center has ever been able to do. His career is still developing, but his physical and skill profile is genuinely one of a kind. Randy Brewer. He's 7 feet 3 inches tall and weighed approximately 230 pounds during his playing days. He was drafted 18th overall in 1983, and he played in the NBA from 1983 to 1994, giving him over a decade of professional time in the league. His career totals were 4,599 points, 2,986 rebounds, and 750 blocks. His career averages were 6.8 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 1.1 blocks per game. Before entering the draft, he was a 2-time first-team All-Big Ten selection at the University of Minnesota in 1982 and 1983. He played as a traditional interior center throughout his NBA career, using his height advantage primarily for rebounding reach and interior shot contesting. His offensive game was limited to close-range scoring, and his lateral quickness prevented him from being a versatile defensive presence against quicker forwards. What stands out most in his career is that he sustained a rotation role across multiple teams for over 10 years, which is genuinely rare at 7'3". Most players at extreme height face career-limiting injuries, conditioning issues, or skill deficits that shorten their time in the league well before a decade passes. Brewer avoided most of those issues and maintained a functional role throughout the entire decade between his rookie year and his final season. He's not a star in any conventional sense, but as a case study in how extreme height can translate to sustained NBA longevity through role specialization, his career is one of the cleanest examples the league has produced. Keith Claus. He's 7 feet 3 inches tall and weighed approximately 212 pounds, making him one of the lightest players ever recorded at that height in NBA history. During his college career, he led the NCAA in blocks in both 1995 and 1996, back-to-back seasons. He played for the Los Angeles Clippers in the late 1990s and was known specifically for his block rate per minute and his ability to alter shots in the paint. His wingspan relative to his body weight created a defensive radius that was disproportionately large, even compared to other 7-footers. He later led the Continental Basketball Association in blocks in 2005, which shows his shot blocking ability translated across multiple professional leagues and time periods. His limitations were almost entirely about mass. At 212 pounds, he struggled to hold his ground against stronger post players who could simply overpower him in the paint. The physical contact required to survive as a center in the NBA was difficult to sustain at his frame. His NBA career was shortened by injuries and off-court issues, and he continued playing in minor leagues and internationally after his NBA time ended. He represents a specific archetype within the giant category where the length produces elite defensive disruption, but the body frame can't support the full responsibilities of playing center minutes against NBA-level opposition. His block totals at the college and minor league levels were historically high, and the instincts and reactions were clearly there. The body composition was the one variable that consistently limited how far that talent translated. Zach Edey. He's 7 feet 3 inches tall, weighs 305 pounds, and has a reported wingspan near 7 feet 11 inches. He was drafted 9th overall in the 2024 NBA draft and plays for the Memphis Grizzlies. As a rookie, he averaged approximately 13.6 points, 11.1 rebounds, and 1.9 blocks per game. His field goal percentage in stretches of that rookie season exceeded 60%, reflecting the interior efficiency that extreme size creates when the player is strong enough to finish through contact. At Purdue, he averaged 25.2 points, 12.2 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks per game in his final season of 2024. He's the only player in NC Double, a history, to average 25 plus points, 12 plus rebounds, 2 plus blocks, and 2 plus assists in a single season simultaneously. He won back-to-back National Player of the Year awards in 2023 and 2024. His 305-pound frame at 7'3" makes him one of the rare players in modern NBA history who combines extreme height with extreme mass, a combination that's historically difficult to manage from a conditioning standpoint, but that creates enormous interior advantages when it's working. His game is built around low post scoring, offensive rebounding, and rim protection. His 7'11" wingspan means his contest radius extends well beyond what his listed height alone would suggest. He's still in the early stage of his NBA career, but the college production he delivered before entering the league was among the most dominant size-based performances the NCAA has seen in a generation. Ha-Sung Jin. He's 7 feet 3 inches tall and weighs 305 pounds. And when the Portland Trailblazers selected him 46th overall in the 2004 NBA draft, he became the first and only South Korean player in NBA history. He played for Portland from 2004 to 2006. Though his actual NBA minutes were limited throughout that stretch, he spent time in the NBA Development League and struggled with conditioning, balance, and the mobility demands that come with 305 pounds on a 7'3" frame. His combination of height and mass placed him in the same physical tier as players like Zach Edey and Pavel Podkolzin. But the translation to NBA playing time proved difficult for the same structural reasons those cases demonstrated. After his NBA career ended, he went back to Korea and built one of the most decorated careers in Korean basketball league history. He won 2 championships in the KBL and collected multiple All-Star and Best 5 selections across his domestic career. That post-NBA success tells the fuller story of what kind of player he actually was. The size that didn't translate well to the pace and switching demands of the NBA was perfectly suited to a league where interior dominance matters more, and the physical requirements around lateral quickness are different. His historical significance in basketball extends beyond his box score. He opened a door for South Korean players and brought visibility to Korean basketball at an international level that had never existed before him. That combination of physical scale and national representation makes him one of the more meaningful figures in this entire list. Žydrūnas Ilgauskas. He's 7 feet 3 inches tall, weighed 260 pounds, and was drafted 20th overall in the 1996 NBA draft. He played 14 NBA seasons from 1997 to 2011 and finished with 10,976 career points, 6,191 rebounds, and 1,327 blocks. His averages were 13 points, 7.3 rebounds, and 1.6 blocks per game. He made 2 NBA All-Star teams and was part of the All-Rookie First Team. The Cleveland Cavaliers retired his number 11 jersey. He spent the majority of his career in Cleveland and was a front court anchor during the early LeBron James era, including the 2007 team that reached the NBA Finals. What makes his career stand out within the giant category is durability. He missed entire seasons early in his career because of serious foot injuries and underwent multiple surgery. Most players who lose that much time to structural foot problems don't come back to play at a high level. Ilgauskas did, and he did it for over a decade after those setbacks. His skill set was more developed than most centers at his height. He had a reliable mid-range jumper, strong post-scoring mechanics, and consistent rebounding production across all 14 seasons. He's one of a very small group of 7'3" or taller players to score over 10,000 career points. His career represents the most successful version of what long-term giant center basketball looks like in terms of combining size, production, and the ability to keep playing through the physical demands that extreme height creates. Lonzo Ball. His career's been a case study in instability, and the numbers don't hide it. Availability alone tells a wild story. He played 52 games as a rookie, then 47, then 63, then 55. After that, things shifted hard. 35 games, then 0, another 0, then 35 again. Since 2021, they've only gotten 70 total games from him across multiple seasons. That includes major knee procedures and 2 full missed years. That's not a small gap, that's a structural reset. Shooting swings make it even clearer. Field goal percentage opened at 36%, climbed into the low 40s, peaked at 42.3%, then later dropped all the way to 30.1%. That's a 12-point swing across seasons. From deep, he moved from around 31% early on to 42.3% at his peak, then dipped below 30% on high volume later. That kind of fluctuation changes spacing, lineups, everything. Scoring followed the same pattern, 14.6 points per game at one peak, 13 in another stretch, then 7.6, then 4.6. Assists slid from 7.2 to 3.3. Minutes fell from 34.6 to 20.8. True shooting once hit 55.1%, then later dropped to 43.4%. Even shot distribution shifted, with 80% of attempts coming from 3 at one stage despite low accuracy. Add in changing mechanics and evolving roles, and it's clear. Production, efficiency, availability, identity. Nothing stayed steady. Julius Randle. His career's a blueprint for high usage volatility. The raw averages sit at 19.3 points, 9.0 rebounds, and 3.9 assists across 12 seasons. But the year-to-year swings are impossible to ignore. In the 2020 to 2021 season, he jumped to 24.1 points and 10.2 rebounds, powered a 4th seed finish, and won Most Improved Player. The very next season saw a clear statistical regression. That drop-off wasn't subtle. It was measurable. All-star level production hasn't been permanent. He's earned 3 all-star selections, yet other seasons fell well below that threshold. One year, he posted 24.0 points, 9.2 rebounds, and 5.0 assists. In Minnesota, that dipped to 18.7 points and 7.1 rebounds. That's more than a 5-point scoring decline across seasons. The postseason adds another layer. Career playoff averages show 19.4 points, but during one peak regular season, he averaged over 24. In the 2021 playoffs, his shooting dropped to 29.8%. In another postseason run, it sat at 37.1%. Those are steep efficiency declines compared to regular season levels. Role has shifted too. He's been a primary scorer, then a complementary piece. Assist numbers have climbed as high as 6.2 in stretches, well above his career norm. Game-to-game production has swung from 30-point outings to 11 the next night. Usage climbs above 30 minutes. Scoring rises to 24.5. Lower usage, numbers settle back near 19. That fluctuation defines the profile. DeMarcus Cousins. His career shows one of the sharpest statistical swings of the modern era. The overall numbers look dominant at first glance. 19.6 points, 10.2 rebounds, and 3.0 assists across 654 games. That's all-star level production on paper. But the season-to-season shifts tell a different story. At his peak in the 2015 to 2016 season, he averaged 26.9 points and 11.5 rebounds. Later in New Orleans before injury, he posted 25.2 points, 12.9 rebounds, and 5.4 assists with strong defensive numbers. That's rare output for a center. Then the injuries hit: an Achilles tear in 2018, an ACL tear in 2019. After that, the production never returned to that tier. He moved from franchise centerpiece to rotational big. Minutes dropped, usage dropped. By 2022, he was signing multiple 10-day contracts. That's a dramatic structural shift from multi-time all-star to short-term depth option. Even within limited roles, volatility stayed present. During a Denver stint, he scored 31 points in just 24 minutes, the fewest minutes for a 30-point game in that franchise's history. Flash dominance, limited opportunity. Team context shifted constantly too. 7 different teams, early Sacramento years, produced elite stats, yet the 2016 to 2017 Kings finished 32-50. The arc is clear: ascending star, statistical peak, major injury collapse, reduced role, international production spike with 20.4 points in Puerto Rico, followed by another disruption. Health, role, production, stability. Everything moved. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Lance Stevenson. The stat sheet doesn't tell one steady story, it tells several different ones stitched together. Across 554 games, the career line reads 8.6 points, 4.1 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. That's the long-term average. The year-to-year reality moved far beyond that. In the 2013 to 2014 season with Indiana, he produced 13.8 points, 7.2 rebounds, and 4.6 assists, while logging 35.3 minutes a night. One season later in Charlotte, scoring slid to 8.2 points, and field goal percentage dropped to 37.6%. That's a sharp scoring dip, paired with a clear efficiency fall, all within a one-year shift. Production also changed dramatically, depending on uniform. During a stint with Memphis, he averaged 14.2 points per game. That same season with the Clippers, it dropped to 4.7, nearly a double-digit swing without a multi-year gap in between. Minutes mirrored that instability, ranging from over 35 per night at his peak to 11.2 in a later role. Opportunity changed, and the numbers followed. Perimeter shooting varied just as widely. Three-point percentage moved from 35.2% to 17.1%, later climbing above 40% before hitting 0% in a brief stretch. Even game-level output shifted sharply, including a 25-point performance after a 6-game run averaging 4.3. Different roles, different minutes, different results. Andre Drummond start at the high end, and the contrast becomes obvious. In the 2018 to 2019 season, he produced 17.3 points and 15.6 rebounds while playing more than 32 minutes a night. That included a league-leading 16.0 rebounds per game in an earlier peak stretch. That's dominant interior volume. Fast forward to the 2025 to 2026 season, and the line reads 6.8 points and 8.7 rebounds. Same player, entirely different scale of impact. That's a double-digit scoring drop and nearly 7 rebounds, separating peak production from a later role. The long-term average settles at 12.2 points and 12.0 rebounds across nearly 1,000 games, but the path between those numbers hasn't been smooth. Early in his career, he signed a 5-year, $130 million contract as a franchise anchor. Later, he agreed to a 2-year, $6.6 million deal in Chicago as a veteran. Reserve option. That contract swing mirrors the statistical shift. Minutes tell the same story. Starter workloads above 32 minutes created double-double consistency. Reduced role under 20 minutes produced 8.9 points and 10.8 rebounds in one starting stretch, then 5.2 points and 6.8 rebounds off the bench in another. Efficiency moved too. Field goal percentage began at 60.8% as a rookie before settling closer to 50% in later seasons. Free throw shooting has stayed below 50% for his career, limiting late game reliability. Peak dominance, rotational usage, shifting value. The numbers changed with the role. D'Angelo Russell. In the 2018 to 2019 season with Brooklyn, he averaged 21.1 points and 7.0 assists, reaching all-star level production. A few seasons later, the scoring line shifted to 12.6 points. The following year, it dropped again to 10.2. That's nearly an 11-point gap between his high point and later output. Workload has played a direct role in those swings. In the 2023 to 2024 season, he logged 32.7 minutes per game and averaged 18.0 points. In a reduced 19-minute role, scoring settled at 10.2. A 13-minute decline translated into almost 8 fewer points on the scoreboard. Efficiency has moved just as noticeably. Career field goal percentage sits at 42.7%, but individual seasons have ranged from 46.5% down to 39.0%. Three-point accuracy has climbed as high as 41.5% before sliding to 29.5%. That's a 12% swing from perimeter strength to inconsistency. Postseason production shows another dip. Playoff averages stand at 14.2 points on 38.8% shooting, below his regular season mark. Even in play, in settings, output has ranged from 29 points in one appearance to just 2 in another. Scoring level, efficiency, minutes, and role have all shifted repeatedly throughout his career trajectory. J.R. Smith, his 16-season career shows one of the widest fluctuation bands for a perimeter scorer. The baseline sits at 12.4 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 2.1 assists on 41.9% shooting and 37.3% from 3. That's the career average across 977 games. The seasonal swings were far more dramatic. In the 2012 to 2013 season, he jumped to 18.1 points and 5.3 rebounds while playing 33.5 minutes, earning 6th Man of the Year. That's nearly a 6-point scoring increase over his career norm. Other seasons dropped far below it, including 8.6 points, 6.7 points, and eventually 2.8 points in limited late career minutes. That's over a 15-point scoring variance from peak to final stretch. Field goal percentage ranged from 46.1% in one season to 31.8% in another. Three-point shooting varied from above 40% to 9.1% during a brief stint. That's a swing of more than 30 percentage points from peak spacing to near non-functional output. Minutes shifted from 33.5 per game at his height to just 13.2 later on. He moved between starter, 6-man, and reserve roles across 5 teams. Volume remained high enough to rank 25th all-time in three-pointers made, yet efficiency fluctuated sharply. Scoring bursts, efficiency dips, role changes, and minute swings defined the statistical profile. Andrew Wiggins, for nearly a decade, his scoring floor barely moved. He consistently hovered above 16.9 points per game, building a reputation for steady volume. Then the shift came. In the 2019 to 2020 season, he reached 21.8 points. By the 2023 to 2024 season, that figure dropped to 13.2. That's an 8.6 point decline from a previous high and his first major statistical fall after years of relative stability. The long-term averages settle at 18.3 points, 4.5 rebounds, and 2.3 assists. But those numbers smooth over the swings underneath. In the 2021 to 2022 season, he logged 31.9 minutes and averaged 17.2 points. 2 seasons later, minutes decreased to 27 and scoring slid to 13.2. A reduction of just under 5 minutes coincided with a 4-point scoring drop. Role adjustments contributed as well. In Minnesota, he operated as a primary option, producing multiple 20-plus point seasons, including a 22.4 peak. In Golden State, his scoring adjusted downward into the 17-point range as responsibilities shifted. During one split season, he averaged 17.6 points with one team and 19.0 after a change in environment. Postseason output has ranged from 16.5 points in one run to 11.5 in another. Shooting efficiency has also moved by several percentage points across seasons. The production hasn't followed a straight line. Jamal Crawford, 20 seasons, 1,327 games, and a career average of 14.6 points with 41.0% shooting. That's the long view. The individual spikes tell a different story. He captured 3 6th Man of the Year awards, including a 2014 season where he averaged 18.6 points off the bench on 41.6% shooting. That's 4 full points, above his career scoring baseline in a reserve role. Yet across 2 decades, he he never averaged 20 points in a season. Single game production reached historic territory. At age 39, he became the oldest player to score 50-plus points in a game. He's also the only player to record 50-point performances with 4 different franchises, including a 51-point night as a reserve. Those are extreme scoring highs compared to a steady mid-teen career average. Role shifted repeatedly across 9 teams. He started in some seasons, functioned as a primary bench scorer in others, and later moved into reduced usage roles. Minutes and responsibility changed depending on roster context. Efficiency fluctuated alongside volume. Career field goal percentage settled at 41.0%, while three-point shooting averaged 34.8%. Free throw accuracy remained strong at 86.2%. Yet overall shot selection and volume created uneven efficiency stretches. Over nearly 39,000 minutes, his cumulative plus-minus reached negative 1,252. Award-winning seasons, historic scoring bursts, moderate long-term averages, and shifting impact all coexisted within the same career arc. Jordan Clarkson. The long-term numbers read 15.8 points, 3.3 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. That's the career baseline across 12 seasons. The yearly highs and lows move well beyond that line. In the 2022 to 2023 season, he reached 20.8 points and 4.4 assists while handling starter minutes. That's a 5-point jump above his career scoring norm. Not long after, scoring settled at 16.2 points, and in a later reduced role, it dipped to 9.9. That's nearly an 11-point swing depending on usage and lineup position. Minutes have directly shaped production. During a 32-point, 6-minute workload, he produced over 20 points per game. In a 20-minute role, output fell below 10. A 12-minute reduction translated to nearly 11 fewer points. Efficiency has shifted as well. Field goal percentage climbed to 44.4% in one peak season before dropping to 40.8% in a later stretch. Three-point accuracy has ranged from 36.8% down to 31.2%. Those percentage swings may look small, but on high-volume attempts, they meaningfully change scoring totals. Game-level volatility stands out too. A 25-point outing has been followed by a 3-point performance within the same season. Over time, he's produced 20-plus point campaigns, mid-teen averages, and sub-10-point stretches. Role, minutes, and efficiency have repeatedly altered the statistical output. Jordan Poole. Few players have seen their production shift as dramatically within such short windows. In the 2022 to 2023 season, he averaged 20.4 points overall, but when starting, that number climbed to 24.6. Once the postseason arrived, minutes dropped from 30.0 to 21.8, and scoring fell to 10.3. That's nearly a 50% scoring decrease inside the same year. Efficiency followed the same pattern. During that playoff stretch, he shot 34.1% from the field and 25.4% from three, both significant drops from regular season level. Season-to-season numbers have also moved sharply. In the 2025 to 2026 season, he averaged 14.0 points on 37.2% shooting. In a previous stretch, he cleared 21 points per game. That's a 7-point swing across adjacent seasons. Game-level output shows even wider gaps. Over a recent 20-game sample, he averaged 12.2 points. Yet within that span, recorded 26-point games and 1-point games. That's a 25-point fluctuation night to night. Advanced metrics have shifted too. True shooting moved from 59.8% in one season to 52.9% in another. Offensive impact ratings have ranged from positive territory to negative game distributions in over 1/3 of appearances. Starter, bench scorer, primary guard, secondary option. The numbers have changed with each role and phase. Dennis Schroeder. The career averages settle at 13.9 points, 4.9 assists, and 2.9 rebounds. That's the long-term line. The individual seasons around it have moved in very different directions. In the 2017 to 2018 season with Atlanta, he produced 19.4 points and 6.2 assists in a primary role. That's a 5.5 scoring jump above his career baseline. Not long after, in Oklahoma City, scoring declined to 15.5 points despite comparable playing time. The usage shifted and the numbers followed. Role changes have consistently altered output. During his sixth-man season in Oklahoma City, he averaged 18.9 points off the bench. Later, in a starting role with the Lakers, scoring settled at 15.4 points with 5.8 assists. In that same postseason run, assists dropped to 2.8 per game. more than a 50% decline from regular season distribution. Team movement adds another layer. Across 13 seasons, he's played for 11 franchises. In one stretch with Brooklyn, he averaged 18.4 points and 6.6 assists. In another stop during the same broader window, scoring fell to 12.8 points with 5.3 assists. That's nearly a 6-point swing within a short span. Minutes correlate closely with production. Starter workloads above 31 minutes produced, scoring near 18 points. Reduced bench minutes closer to 26 resulted in 12-point range output. Shooting percentages have hovered in the low 40s, with year-to-year movement of several percentage points. Role, system, and opportunity have repeatedly reshaped the stat line. Josh Smith. The numbers across 13 seasons don't move in a straight line. The career averages land at 14.5 points, 7.4 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 1.9 blocks. Inside those totals sits a wide scoring range. As a rookie in Atlanta, he averaged 9.7 points. At his peak, in the 2011 to 2012 season, scoring climbed to 18.8. In his final NBA stint, that number dropped to 0.7. That's nearly an 18-point swing from high to low across his career arc. Efficiency fluctuated sharply as well. Field goal percentage reached 50.5% in one season, fell to 41.9% in another, and later dropped to 25% during a brief late stop. That's more than a 25 percentage point gap. From three-point range, he shot 28.5% for his career across 1,578 attempts, consistently below league norms. Shot distribution played a role. During his Atlanta years, 32% of his attempts came from 10 feet out to the three-point line, where he converted only 33%. That equated to 0.66 points per shot in that zone. Minutes also shifted dramatically, from 35.5 per game at his peak to just 4.0 later on. He moved from franchise anchor in Atlanta to high-usage forward in Detroit, then to rotational roles in Houston, the Clippers, and New Orleans. Defensively, he recorded 1,713 career blocks and earned all defensive second-team honors. Offensively, efficiency and role fluctuated repeatedly throughout his career. Tim Hardaway Jr. Volume has rarely been the issue. Stability has. Across 867 games, the career averages settle at 13.7 points on 41.9% shooting and 36.4% from three. Those numbers sit in the middle. The swings around them are noticeable. In the 2023 to 2024 season, he averaged 14.4 points. The following year, that dropped to 11.0. That's a 3.4 point decline, despite similar opportunity. Minutes hovered around 28 per game, yet scoring fell below his career norm. Three-point volume has stayed high, including seasons with more than 200 made threes, such as 212 in the 2022 to 2023 campaign. Efficiency, however, has moved. One stretch reached 40.9% from three. Another season in Detroit registered 36.8%. That's a 4% gap. While attempts remain steady, postseason production has shown even sharper contrast. During a finals run, regular season scoring sat at 14.4 points. In the playoffs, it dropped to 4.4. He scored more than 10 points in only 2 of 22 postseason games that year, a 10-point decrease from regular season output. Single game spikes also stand out. A 32-point performance came in a season where his average was 11.0. Same player, same year. Nearly triple the baseline in one outing. Starter, sixth man, spot up wing. The role has shifted. The shooting volume remains. The results have fluctuated. Hassan Whiteside. The career averages were at 12.6 points, 10.8 rebounds, and 2.2 blocks. Those totals span 10 NBA seasons. Inside that window sit extreme highs and sharp reduction. In the 2015 to 2016 season, he led the league with 3.68 blocks per game. The following year, he led the league in rebounding at 14.1 per game. Those are league-leading figures compared to his overall career averages, which are several points lower in both categories. Minutes have played a major role in the swings. During his Miami peak, he logged over 29 minutes per game and produced 11.8 rebounds with 3.7 blocks in one stretch. Later, in Utah, during the 2021 to 2022 season, minutes fell to 17.9 per game with 8.2 rebounds and 1.6 blocks. Reduced opportunity translated directly to reduced output. Availability early in his career was unstable. He played one game in the 2010 to 2011 season and 18 the following year, before leaving the league and returning later for a breakout in Miami. That return included double-digit scoring and rebounding in limited minutes, along with multiple triple-doubles built around blocks. Game-level production reached 12 blocks in a single contest, yet playoff averages declined to 7.3 points and 7.9 rebounds. Across Sacramento, Miami, Portland, and Utah, his role shifted from reserve to defensive anchor to backup again. League-leading seasons and moderate stretches existed within the same career arc. R.J. Barrett, the scoring line across his career, sits at 18.8 points, 5.5 rebounds, and 3.3 assists. That's the blended average over 7 seasons. The yearly outputs around it haven't stayed fixed. As a rookie, he averaged 14.3 points on 40.2% shooting. 2 seasons later, he reached 20.0 points. That's a 5.7 increase from year 1 to an early peak. The following seasons moved again, with 17.6, then 19.6, then 18.2, before climbing to 21.8 during a Toronto split. Within that stretch alone, scoring has swung nearly 4 points in either direction. Efficiency has shifted even more dramatically. Field goal percentage rose from 40.2% as a rookie to 44.1% in one season, dipped to 40.8% the next year, then jumped to 55.3% in Toronto. That's a 15% swing between seasons. Three-point shooting has ranged from 32% to 40.1%, later dropping near 31% before climbing close to 39%. Late season surges have also altered full year perception. In one campaign, he averaged 23.7 points over the final 40 games, compared to 20.0 for the full season. Playoff scoring has ranged from 14.4 points in one run to 19.3 in another. Minutes have remained consistently high, yet production and efficiency have shifted across roles and team contexts. Montrezl Harrell. Look at the extremes first. In the 2019 to 2020 season, he averaged 18.6 points and 7.1 rebounds in under 28 minutes a night. Earlier in his career, he logged 9.7 minutes and scored 3.6 points as a rookie. Later in Philadelphia, that number settled at 5.6 points in 11.9 minutes. That's a 13-point scoring gap between peak and reduced role seasons. The career average lands at 12.1 points and 5.0 rebounds. But that midpoint hides sharp swings and opportunity. Minutes have ranged from under 10 per game to nearly 28. Production rose directly with expanded usage and dropped when the role contracted. Postseason output shifted again. Regular season scoring sits above 12 points per game, while playoff scoring fell to 8.7 with 2.8 rebounds. That's a clear decline in impact when rotations tightened. Single game. Production has also stretched the range. He's recorded 34-point performances, yet large portions of his career featured single-digit scoring in limited minutes. Across 515 games, he started only 36 times, despite multiple seasons of starter-level scoring volume. Team context played a measurable role. After roster changes created more interior opportunities in one season, his scoring climbed above 16 points per game. In later environments with established front-court starters, his minutes and usage dropped sharply. The skill set remained interior-focused and energy-driven. The statistical output moved dramatically, depending on role, team structure, and postseason context. Terrence Ross, the long-term average, lands at 11.0 points, 2.8 rebounds, and 1.3 assists across 733 games. That number sits in the middle of wide swings above and below it. In the 2018 to 2019 season, he scored 15.1 points per game. 2 seasons later, that dropped to 10.0. Earlier in his career, he averaged just 6.4 points as a rookie. From rookie year to peak, that's nearly a 9-point rise. From peak to later regression, it's a 5-point drop. Minutes tell part of the story. During the 2020 to 2021 season, he played 29.3 minutes and averaged 15.6 points. In the 2022 to 2023 season, minutes fell to 21.1 and scoring declined to 8.3. An 8-minute reduction paired with more than 7 fewer points. Shooting percentages have also shifted. Career field goal percentage sits at 41.8%, but individual seasons have ranged from 39.7 to 43.1. Three-point accuracy has moved from 38.3% in one season down to 29.2% in another, a 9% gap. Postseason output has varied sharply as well. One playoff run produced 16.4 points per game. Another registered 5.0. A later stint dropped to 3.7. Starter, bench scorer, limited role reserve. The scoring output has changed with each context. Nick Young, start with the wide range before looking at the average. Over 720 games, he posted 11.4 points per game in 22.8 minutes. In his highest scoring seasons, that number jumped well above the baseline. During the 2010 to 2011 season, he averaged 17.4 points in over 31 minutes. In the 2013 to 2014 season with the Lakers, he reached 17.9 points in 28.3 minutes. A few years later, scoring dropped to 7.3 points in 19.1 minutes and eventually to 2.3 points in 9.3 minutes. That's more than a 15-point swing from peak to final season output. The year-to-year pattern shifted repeatedly: 17.4, 16.6, 10.6, 17.9, 7.3, 13.2, 7.3, 2.3. The movement didn't follow a steady progression. Efficiency moved with it. Field goal percentage ranged from 44.4% in one season down to 33.9% in another before rebounding to 43.0%. Three-point shooting fluctuated between 40.6%, 35.7%, 32.5%, and back above 40%. Role adjusted frequently across Washington, the Clippers, Philadelphia, the Lakers, Golden State, and Denver. Starts dropped from 60 in one season to 8 the next year. A 43-point career high contrasts with a 4.2 playoff average. Scoring, minutes, and efficiency never stabilized for long. O.J. Mayo, the highest scoring season of his career came immediately. As a rookie, he averaged 18.5 points per game. By his third season, that number had fallen to 11.3. That's a 7.2 drop within 3 years, while minutes declined from 38 per game to 26. The scoring decrease outpaced the reduction in playing time. Across 8 NBA seasons and 547 games, his career average settled at 13.8 points, 3.1 rebounds, and 2.9 assists. That baseline sits almost 5 points below his rookie output. Role changes altered production quickly. In Memphis, during a bench transition season, he averaged 11.3 points. After moving to Dallas and returning to a starter role, scoring rose to 15.3 points with 4.4 assists in 35.5 minutes. The following season in Milwaukee, dropped by roughly 10 per game, efficiency also shifted. Field goal percentage reached 45.8% in his second season before falling to 40.7% the next year. Three-point shooting ranged from 38.4% as a rookie to 40.7% in Dallas, with mid-30% seasons in between. His rookie year included 7 games of 30 or more points, yet the long-term scoring average remained in the mid-teens. After Milwaukee, production dipped further, and in 2016, he received a 2-year suspension that effectively ended his NBA run at age 28. Danilo Gallinari, the middle line of his career, reached 14.9 points and 4.7 rebounds across 777 games. The edges of that career look very different. In the 2015 to 2016 season, he averaged 19.5 points in 34.7 minutes. The following year, he remained above 18-point game. Years later, in the 2023 to 2024 season, scoring fell to 5.7 points in under 13 minutes, including a stretch at 2.8 points with Milwaukee. That's nearly a 14-point swing from peak to late career output. Availability shaped the arc as much as scoring did. He missed the entire 2013 to 2014 season due to an ACL tear and again missed the entire 2022 to 2023 season for the same injury. He has not reached 70 games in a season since 2012 to 2013. Several productive seasons were paired with fewer than 65 appearances. Efficiency fluctuates alongside role. Career field goal percentage sits at 42.8%, with individual seasons ranging from 44.7% down to 37.8%. Three-point shooting has averaged 38.1% for his career, yet late career stretches dropped as low as 17.6% in limited minutes. Across 14 seasons and 8 teams, he shifted from primary scoring option in Denver to floor spacer in Los Angeles to reserve roles late. A 47-point career, high contrast with extended injury absences and reduced production phases. Kemba Walker. Kemba Walker was selected 9th overall in the 2011 NBA draft by the Charlotte Bobcats, and in his very first season, that team finished 7-59. That's the situation Kemba walked into, and he stayed loyal to it for nearly a decade. By the 2018 to 2019 season, He was averaging 25.6 points, 5.9 assists, and 4.4 rebounds, while earning first-team All-Star starter status and All-NBA third-team honors. He made 4 straight All-Star appearances from 2017 through 2020, consistently ranking among the league leaders in usage rate and clutch scoring, despite being only 6 feet tall. He's Charlotte's all-time leader in points, three-pointers, free throws, and win share, averaging 19.8 points and 5.5 assists across 605 games with the franchise. The reason he's forgotten is simple. His prime ran directly alongside Steph Curry, Russell Westbrook, Damian Lillard, Kyrie, and James Harden. That guard era was historically loaded. Kemba also only made the playoffs twice with Charlotte and never won a playoff series there because his best teammates for stretches were Nicholas Batum, Marvin Williams, and Cody Zeller. He still pushed Charlotte to 48 wins in 2015 to 2016. Then he signed a 4-year, $141 million deal with Boston in 2019, and knee problems rapidly ended his explosiveness. His NBA career averages finished at 19.3 points and 5.3 assists per game. Tim Hardaway entered the NBA in 1989 after being drafted 14th overall by the Golden State Warriors and almost immediately became part of one of the most revolutionary offensive trios ever. He, Mitch Richmond, and Chris Mullin became known as Run TMC, a play on Run DMC, and they completely changed how NBA offenses operated. Don Nelson's Warriors played at an extremely fast pace with heavy transition offense, constant spacing, and guard-driven creation, which was decades ahead of its time. During the 1990 to 1991 season, Hardaway averaged 22.9 points, 9.7 assists, and 2.6 steals, earning first-team All-NBA. His crossover, called the UTEP two-step, became one of the most influential dribble moves in basketball history and directly shaped Allen Iverson, Baron Davis, Chris Paul, and Kyrie Irving. He was one of the first guards to weaponize the crossover as a primary offensive system. Career-wise, Hardaway made 5 All-Star teams, 5 All-NBA teams, and averaged 17.7 points and 8.2 assists for his career. After leaving Golden State, he became the engine of Pat Riley's Miami Heat alongside Alonzo Mourning. In 1997, he finished top 5 in MVP voting after averaging 20.3 points, 8.6 assists, and 2 steals, while leading Miami to 61 wins. He suffered a major knee injury in 1993 that cost him almost an entire season, but he reinvented himself and stayed elite through the late 90s. Hardaway was inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2022. Robert Parrish played 21 NBA seasons and appeared in 1,611 games, which stood as the NBA record for decades. He was drafted 8th overall in 1976 by Golden State before everything changed in 1980 when Boston acquired him and the draft pick that became Kevin McHale in one of the most important trades in league history. Parrish became the anchor center alongside Larry Bird, Kevin McHale, and Dennis Johnson, helping Boston win championships in 1981, 1984, and 1986. He later won another ring with Michael Jordan's Bulls in 1997. He made 9 All-Star teams, 2 All-NBA teams, and was named to both the NBA 50th Anniversary Team and the NBA 75th Anniversary Team. He averaged 14.5 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 1.5 blocks across those 1,611 career games. His durability is one of the greatest achievements by any center ever, playing into his 40s and becoming the oldest player in NBA history to win a championship at age 43. His offensive game gets forgotten because he played next to Bird and McHale, but during multiple Boston seasons, he averaged over 18 points with double-digit rebounds and elite rim protection. His nickname was the Chief, referencing the silent character from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest because of his quiet, emotionless personality. His jersey number 00 was retired by Boston in 1998, yet he's almost never mentioned, alongside Hakeem Olajuwon, Shaq, or Kareem, historically. By the way, if you guys want to subscribe, I'm going to be posting every day. Thanks. Anyways, Brandon Roy. Brandon Roy was selected 6th overall in the 2006 NBA draft, and he won NBA Rookie of the Year in his first season, averaging 16.8 points, 4.4 rebounds, and 4.0 assists. By only his second season, he was already an All-Star. He made 3 straight All-Star teams from 2008 through 2010 and was named All-NBA twice. During the 2008 to 2009 season, he averaged 22.6 points, 5.1 assists, and 4.7 rebounds, while finishing ninth in MVP voting at only 24 years old. Kobe Bryant publicly called Roy the toughest player to guard in the Western Conference because Roy had no weaknesses offensively. He wasn't an explosive athlete like Dwayne Wade, but he mastered footwork, hesitations, and mid-range scoring at an elite level. In the 2009 playoffs against Houston, Roy averaged 26.7 points per game. Then injuries changed everything. He had almost no cartilage left in either knee, and by the 2010 playoffs, he suffered a torn meniscus, but returned only 8 days later to score 18 second-half points against Dallas in one of the most famous comeback moments in Portland history. In 2011, Roy retired due to degenerative knee problems at only 27 years old. Most NBA superstars don't even begin declining until their early 30s. He attempted a comeback with Minnesota in 2012, but played only 5 games before another knee injury ended it. His career averages were 19.0 points per game across 5 main seasons. Danny Granger. Danny Granger was selected 17th overall in the 2005 NBA draft by the Indiana Pacers after playing at the University of New Mexico. He entered Indiana during one of the strangest franchise periods in Pacers history, right after the Malice at the Palace fallout, roster instability, and the decline of the Reggie Miller era. By the 2008 to 2009 season, Granger had fully arrived. He averaged 25.8 points, 5.1 rebounds, and 2.7 assists, made his first All-Star team, and won Most Improved Player. He scored in almost every way possible, hitting catch-and-shoot threes, isolation jumpers, and free throws at over 87%, while shooting nearly 40% from 3. The problem was Indiana wasn't winning enough nationally televised games for casual fans to notice how dominant he'd actually become. The Eastern Conference spotlight stayed on LeBron James, Paul Pierce, Dwight Howard, and Wade. Then his knees and lower body started breaking down around 2010. He dealt with plantar fascia injuries, patellar tendinosis, and chronic knee problem. In the 2012 to 2013 season, he played only 5 games. That absence changed the entire Pacers franchise because Paul George stepped into a much larger offensive role and became a superstar. Indiana eventually transitioned away from Granger entirely, trading him to the Philadelphia 76ers in 2014. From 2007 through 2010, he averaged over 20 points per game, 3 straight seasons, made an All-Star team, won Most Improved Player, and ranked among the league's scoring leaders. His peak was real, and it disappeared fast. Larry Johnson. Larry Johnson entered the NBA as one of the most hyped prospects in the country after helping lead UNLV's famous 1990 national championship team. The Charlotte Hornets selected him first overall in the 1991 NBA draft, and he won Rookie of the Year in 1992, averaging 19.2 points and 11 rebounds per game. In only his second season, he averaged 22.1 points, 10.5 rebounds, and 4.3 assists, making him one of the NBA's most versatile forwards. At that time, he was viewed as a future face of the league alongside Shaq, Alonzo Mourning, and Chris Webber. His grandmama commercials became massively popular nationally, and he was among the league leaders in jersey sales and endorsement popularity. Then his back injuries changed everything. He suffered major back problems early that permanently reduced his athleticism, forcing him to reinvent himself from an explosive power athlete into a more perimeter-oriented forward. In 1996, Johnson was traded to the New York Knicks in a blockbuster deal involving Anthony Mason. In New York, his role shifted entirely. Lower scoring, more physical defense, better three-point shooting, and veteran leadership. He helped lead the 8th-seeded Knicks to the 1999 NBA Finals, which was historic because no 8th seed had ever reached the finals before in a full NBA season. His famous 4-point play in the 1999 Eastern Conference Finals against Indiana remains one of the most iconic moments in Knicks history. His career lasted only 10 seasons with full averages of 16.2 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 3.3 assists. Michael Redd. Michael Redd was selected 43rd overall in the 2000 NBA draft by the Milwaukee Bucks, making him one of the greatest second-round steals of his era. Early in his career, he came off the bench behind Ray Allen, Glenn Robinson, and Sam Cassell. By his second season, He already set an NBA record at the time by making 8 three-pointers in a single quarter against Houston in 2002. After Ray Allen was traded to Seattle in 2003, Milwaukee handed the offense fully to Red, and he immediately exploded. From 2003 to 4 through 2008 to 9, he averaged 23.3 points per game with elite three-point and free throw shooting. During the 2006 to 7 season, he averaged a career-high 26.7 points per game, which ranked among the league leaders and set the Milwaukee franchise scoring record at the time with 57 points against Utah. Despite that production, many of his teammates were TJ Ford, Andrew Bogut, Charlie Villanueva, and Yi Janlian. In 2005, he rejected a larger offer from Cleveland to re-sign with Milwaukee for 6 years and around $91 million. Cleveland instead later reshaped their roster around LeBron James differently. Red tore his ACL in 2009 and suffered another major knee injury in 2010, ending his superstar production before age 31. He was also part of the 2008 Olympic Redeem Team alongside Kobe Bryant, LeBron James, and Wade, setting records for made three-pointers during the 2007 FIBA Americas Tournament. His career averages finished at 19 points per game. Mitch Richmond. Mitch Richmond entered the NBA in 1988 after being selected 5th overall by Golden State and immediately won Rookie of the Year, averaging 22 points per game. Right away, he became part of Run TMC alongside Tim Hardaway and Chris Mullin, a trio that completely transformed NBA offensive aesthetics with high pace, constant transition scoring, and spacing heavy basketball that looked decades ahead of its time. Richmond averaged over 23 points per game during those early Warriors years. Then Golden State made one of the most controversial trades of the era, sending Richmond to Sacramento for Billy Owens in 1991, breaking up Run TMC extremely early. Richmond spent 7 seasons in Sacramento and became the Kings' first true superstar after the franchise relocated from Kansas City. The problem was, Sacramento wasn't a major national market. The Kings were usually losing, and the franchise lacked organizational stability. Despite that, from 1991 through 1998, Richmond averaged over 23 points per game with elite shooting efficiency and strong durability. He made 6 All-Star teams, 5 All-NBA teams, scored over 20,000 career points, and averaged 21 points per game for his career. He won the 1995 All-Star Game MVP after scoring 23 points, which is rarely mentioned historically. His prime overlapped directly with Michael Jordan, Clyde Drexler, and Reggie Miller, and Jordan especially overshadowed nearly every shooting guard of that era. Richmond eventually won a championship with the 2002 Lakers before entering the Basketball Hall of Fame in 2014. Sacramento retired his number 2 jersey. He remains massively underrated. Kevin Johnson. Kevin Johnson entered the NBA in 1987 after being drafted 7th overall by Cleveland before quickly getting traded to Phoenix, which became one of the most important deals in Suns history. During the 1988-89 season, he exploded with 20.4 points, 12.2 assists, 1.7 steals, and nearly 51% shooting, winning Most Improved Player. He became one of the first guards in NBA history to consistently combine 20-plus points with double-digit assists at elite efficiency over multiple seasons. Career-wise, he averaged 17.9 points, 9.1 assists, and 49.3% shooting as a point guard, which was extremely unusual for that era. He made 3 All-Star teams and 5 All-NBA teams. Before Charles Barkley arrived in Phoenix, Johnson already had seasons averaging 22 points and 11 assists while carrying the Suns offensively. Once Barkley arrived in 1992, Johnson became the secondary superstar on the team that reached the 1993 NBA Finals against Michael Jordan's Bulls, averaging 17.2 points and 7.9 assists during that final series. His athleticism was extraordinary for a point guard, standing around 6'1", featuring elite speed, explosive first step, and powerful vertical ability. Throughout the 90s, hamstring, groin, and back injuries constantly interrupted his peak seasons. His career was also historically wedged between Magic Johnson's era, the Stockton era, and the later Jason Kidd and Steve Nash eras in Phoenix, which caused his impact to get skipped over, despite his production being historically elite. After retiring, he became mayor of Sacramento from 2008 through 2016. Chris Webber. Chris Webber entered the NBA after being selected 1st overall in the 1993 NBA draft by Orlando, before immediately being traded to Golden State for Penny Hardaway and future picks. He won Rookie of the Year in 1994, averaging 17.5 points, 9.1 rebounds, and 3.6 assists, which were extraordinary passing numbers for a rookie power forward. His relationship with Warriors coach Don Nelson collapsed quickly over a positional dispute, and Golden State traded him to Washington after only one season. In Washington, Webber became one of the first modern point forwards at power forward, capable of scoring inside, handling the ball, passing like a guard, and hitting mid-range jumpers. During the 1996-97 season, he averaged 20.1 points, 10.3 rebounds, and 4.6 assists, while leading Washington to its first playoff appearance in 9 years. His real peak came in Sacramento, after the Kings traded for him in 1998. From 1999 through 2003, Webber made 5 straight All-Star appearances, earned multiple All-NBA selections, won a rebounding title in 1999, and averaged around 27 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 assists at his peak. The 2001 to 2002 Kings won 61 games and pushed the Lakers to 7 games in the Western Conference Finals with Webber as their engine. A devastating knee injury in the 2003 playoffs against Dallas permanently changed his explosiveness. He's a 5-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA player, Rookie of the Year winner, and Hall of Famer with over 17,000 career points. Tom Chambers. Tom Chambers was drafted 8th overall in 1981 by the San Diego Clippers out of the University of Utah, and at 6'10", he was athletically far ahead of most power forwards of his era. He ran the floor like a wing, attacked off the dribble, shot from outside, and played above the rim constantly, becoming one of the first true athletic scoring forwards before that archetype became normal. After being traded to Seattle, he became a major star with the Supersonics, averaging over 20 points across 6 different seasons and making 4 All-Star teams. In 1987, he won the NBA All-Star Game, the MVP, after scoring 34 points. In 1988, Chambers made NBA history by becoming the first unrestricted free agent ever when he left Seattle to sign with the Phoenix Suns, permanently changing the business side of the league. In Phoenix during the 1989-90 season, he averaged 27.2 points per game, finished 4th in NBA scoring, and scored 60 points in one game against Seattle. That same era, he became famous for one of the greatest in-game dunks ever when he dunked directly over Mark Jackson in 1989, a play Phoenix later immortalized with a statue. He's one of the very few eligible players with over 20,000 career points not inducted into the Basketball Hall of Fame, which is a huge reason he gradually disappeared from mainstream discussion. He also played for the Clippers, Sonics, Suns, Jazz, Hornets, and 76ers, never becoming permanently tied to one championship core. Steve Francis. Steve Francis was selected 2nd overall in the 1999 NBA draft by the Vancouver Grizzlies, but publicly refused to play there, making him one of the earliest examples of a young NBA star forcing his way away from a team before playing a single game. Vancouver traded him to Houston, where he won Co-Rookie of the Year in 2000 alongside Elton Brand. In Houston, Francis immediately became the franchise centerpiece during the Rockets' transition away from the Hakeem Olajuwon era. His nickname was Stevie Franchise, one of the most recognizable nicknames in early 2000s basketball. From 2000 through 2004, he averaged around 21 points per game, made multiple All-Star teams, and became one of Houston's biggest stars, featuring explosive handles, powerful dunks, deep shooting range, and strong rebounding for a guard. During the 2003-04 season, he averaged 21.0 points, 6.2 rebounds, and 6.2 assists, which were extraordinary rebounding numbers for a 6'3" guard. Houston eventually traded Francis to Orlando in the Tracy McGrady deal, and he initially averaged over 21 points per game in 2004-05, but knee injuries and quadriceps injuries severely damaged his explosiveness, and the decline happened extremely fast. By age 31, his NBA career was essentially over. He made 3 All-Star appearances, won Rookie of the Year, and finished with career averages over 18 points per game. He never made deep playoff runs, and Houston repeatedly lost early in the postseason, leaving his career without the iconic playoff moments that keep stars remembered historically. Deron Williams. Deron Williams was drafted 3rd overall in the 2005 NBA draft by the Utah Jazz after leading Illinois to the NCAA championship game. He entered one of the hardest systems in basketball immediately under Jerry Sloan, which demanded half-court execution, physical defense, and disciplined pick-and-roll reads. By his second season, Williams was already one of the NBA's elite point guards. During the 2006-07 season, he averaged 16.2 points and 9.3 assists, while leading Utah to the Western Conference Finals, where the Jazz defeated Houston and Golden State before losing to San Antonio. In the playoffs, with Utah, across 44 games, Williams averaged 21.1 points and 9.6 assists. From 2007 through 2010, he became one of the NBA's most physically dominant offensive guards, standing 6'3" and around 200 pounds, with elite pick-and-roll passing, strong pull-up shooting, and high court vision. During 2008-09 and 2009-10, he averaged 18.7 and 10.5 assists in both seasons, finishing among league assist leaders. For a real stretch in the late 2000s, there was a legitimate debate over whether Williams or Chris Paul was the better point guard in basketball. That debate has almost completely vanished historically. Utah shockingly traded him to the New Jersey Nets in 2011 after reported tension with Sloan. Brooklyn later built an expensive roster around Williams, featuring Kevin Garnett, Paul Pierce, and Joe Johnson, but ankle injuries rapidly diminished his effectiveness. He finished with career averages of 16.3 points and 8.1 assists, 3 All-Star appearances, and 2 All-NBA second-team selections. Antawn Jamison scored 20,042 career points and over 8,000 rebounds, milestones normally associated with Hall of Fame scores. He entered the NBA in 1998 after winning the National Player of the Year, Wooden Award, and Naismith Award at North Carolina. The Toronto Raptors drafted him 4th overall before immediately trading him to Golden State for Vince Carter, one of the defining draft night trades of the era. During December of 2000, Jamison scored 51 points in back-to-back games, which very few players in NBA history have ever done. His scoring style was unconventional, using awkward angles, unusual footwork, quick flip shots, and elite offensive rebound, yet he constantly produced huge numbers. During the 2003-04 season with Dallas, he averaged 14.8 points off the bench and won 6th Man of the Year. After being traded to Washington, he became a 2-time All-Star and primary scorer alongside Gilbert Arenas and Karen Butler. During the 2007 playoffs against Cleveland, he averaged 32 points and 10 rebounds per game in the series. His prime overlapped directly with Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, and Chris Webber, making it nearly impossible to earn major national recognition. Despite 16 NBA seasons, he earned only 2 All-Star appearances and 0 All-NBA selections, which is extremely unusual for a player with over 20,000 career points. He joined Cleveland with LeBron and later the Lakers with Kobe, but by then was past his athletic prime. Career-wise, he averaged 18.5 points and 7.5 rebounds per game across his career. Sharif Abdur-Rahim entered the NBA in 1996 as the 3rd overall pick by the Vancouver Grizzlies, becoming one of the first franchise stars in that franchise's history. The problem was the Grizzlies were one of the worst expansion situations in NBA history, dealing with poor roster depth, little organizational stability, constant losing seasons, and low national visibility. During his rookie season, he averaged 18.7 points and 6.9 rebounds. By age 23, he was consistently averaging over 20 points and around 10 rebounds while carrying expansion-level rosters that had almost no spacing or veteran talent around him. Vancouver never made the playoffs during his time there, which heavily damaged his historical visibility. In 2001, he was traded to the Atlanta Hawks in a draft night trade that also involved Pau Gasol. In Atlanta during 2001-02, he averaged 21.2 points, 9 rebounds, 3.1 assists, and 1.1 blocks while making his only All-Star team. His peak overlapped with one of the most overloaded power forward eras ever, competing with Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Dirk Nowitzki, Chris Webber, Rasheed Wallace, and Jermaine O'Neal. Later in Sacramento, it finally looked like he'd join a contender alongside Mike Bibby, Peja Stojakovic, and Brad Miller, but a major knee injury before the 2005 playoffs kept him out during Sacramento's postseason run. Career-wise, he averaged 18.1 points, 7.5 rebounds, and 2.5 assists per game. After retirement, he became president of the NBA G League but basketball fans rarely discuss how dominant his individual production actually was. Larry Hughes. Larry Hughes entered the NBA directly out of high school in 1998 when the Philadelphia 76ers selected him 8th overall. Physically, he was extremely unique for his era at 6'5", with a long wingspan, elite lateral quickness, and explosive first step. He played alongside Allen Iverson early in his career, becoming one of the few young guards trusted to share ball handling duties with Iverson. His biggest rise came in Washington during the 2004-05 season, where he averaged 22.0 points, 6.3 rebounds, 4.7 assists, and 2.9 steals per game. Hughes led the entire NBA in steals that season at 2.89 per game, which remains one of the highest modern-era steal averages ever for a perimeter player. The 2004-05 Wizards became one of the NBA's surprise teams, winning 45 games and reaching the playoffs for the first time in years because of the trio of Gilbert Arenas, Anton Jamison, and Hughes. In 2005, Hughes signed a massive free agent deal with Cleveland to join LeBron James, as the Cavaliers tried to build a championship roster around a young LeBron. Injuries constantly interrupted his momentum in Cleveland, including finger, foot, hamstring, and shoulder problems across multiple seasons. He still played a major role during Cleveland's 2007 finals run, serving as one of the team's primary perimeter defenders. Career accomplishments include leading the NBA in steals, averaging over 22 points in a season, reaching the NBA Finals, and accumulating nearly 13,000 career points. He never made an all-star team, despite that production. Jerry Stackhouse. Jerry Stackhouse was selected 3rd overall in the 1995 NBA Draft by the Philadelphia 76ers after starring at the University of North Carolina under Dean Smith. Before Allen Iverson arrived, Philadelphia viewed Stackhouse as the franchise's next superstar scoring guard. When Iverson arrived in 1996, the fit became awkward with two extremely ball-dominant guards, and the Sixers traded Stackhouse to Detroit in 1997. In Detroit, he became the full offensive centerpiece. His peak came during the 2000 to 2001 season, where he averaged 29.8 points per game, finished 5th in NBA scoring, and attempted over 23 shots per game. That scoring average is historically significant because only a small number of players in NBA history have approached 30 points per game over a full season. During that year, he scored 57 points against Chicago, which remained the Pistons' franchise scoring record for years and surpassed 2,000 total points. At his peak, he was one of the NBA's purest isolation scorers, attacking the rim constantly, finishing through contact, and drawing huge numbers of free throws. His prime happened directly in the middle of Michael Jordan's late Bulls era, Kobe Bryant's rise, Allen Iverson's scoring peak, Vince Carter's popularity explosion, and Tracy McGrady's rise, which caused constant national overshadowing. The Pistons also didn't become true contenders until after Stackhouse left, when Detroit built their 2004 championship identity around defense and ball movement. He made 2 All-Star teams, won an Olympic gold medal, and finished with over 16,000 career points, despite injuries and role decline. His peak was absolutely real. Stephon Marbury entered the NBA in 1996 as one of the most hyped point guard prospects of the decade, coming from Coney Island in Brooklyn and becoming nationally famous before even leaving high school. He starred at Abraham Lincoln High School and played 1 college season at Georgia Tech before the Milwaukee Bucks selected him 4th overall, immediately trading him to the Minnesota Timberwolves for Ray Allen. That trade became one of the defining draft trades of the 90s. In Minnesota, at only 21 years old, Marbury averaged 17.7 points and 8.6 assists, forming one of the NBA's most talented young duos with Kevin Garnett. Eventually wanting his own franchise, Marbury left Minnesota for the New Jersey Nets in 1999 and individually kept producing huge numbers across multiple stops. From 2000 through 2004, he posted multiple 20-plus point and 8-plus assist seasons, while making 2 All-Star appearances and earning 1 All-NBA third-team selection. During the 2002-03 season with Phoenix, he averaged 22.3 points and 8.1 assists as the face of the Suns before the Steve Nash era arrived. His move to the New York Knicks became the most dramatic chapter of his career. Enormous expectations as a New York playground legend collided with one of the most chaotic NBA franchises of the 2000s, featuring constant roster changes, heavy contracts, and coaching instability. His NBA career effectively collapsed by age 31. But in China, he rebuilt his legacy completely, winning multiple championships, earning massive popularity, getting a statue built, and becoming a cultural icon in Beijing. His NBA career averages were over 16,000 points and over 6,000 assists. Chris Mullin. Chris Mullin was drafted 7th overall in 1985 by the Golden State Warriors after an iconic career at St. John's under Lou Carnesecca, where he became a 3-time Big East Player of the Year and led St. John's to the 1985 Final Four. He entered the NBA during one of the hardest eras for wing scorers, with Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, Michael Jordan, and Dominique Wilkins dominating the conversation. Yet Mullin became one of the league's elite offensive players regardless. From 1988 through 1993, he averaged over 25 points multiple times with elite shooting percentages and efficiency. During 1988 to 89, he averaged 26.5 points while shooting over 53% from the field, which was extremely unusual for a perimeter player in that era. During 1989 to 90, he averaged 25.1 points, 5.9 rebounds, 3.6 assists, and 53.5% shooting while making first-team All-NBA. Career-wise, he made 5 All-Star teams, 4 All-NBA teams, averaged 18.2 points per game, and entered the Hall of Fame in 2011. He was part of Run TMC alongside Tim Hardaway and Mitch Richmond, a trio that changed offensive basketball aesthetics with fast pace, spacing, and perimeter-heavy basketball. Mullin was arguably the best scorer of that group during their peak. He was also selected for the original 1992 Dream Team alongside Michael Jordan, Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, and Charles Barkley, and then won another Olympic gold medal in 1996, accomplishments almost no player in NBA history matched. Early in his career, he openly battled alcoholism before fully turning his career around. Kevin Martin. Kevin Martin was drafted 26th overall in 2004 by Sacramento out of Western Carolina, which was a tiny basketball program compared to almost every other NBA star. He entered the Kings on the tail end of their successful Chris Webber era and unexpectedly became their franchise scorer as Sacramento declined. From 2006 through 2011, he averaged around 20-plus points with elite free throw efficiency and elite true shooting efficiency. During the 2006-07 season, he averaged 20.2 points and emerged as one of the NBA's breakout scorers. His scoring style looked unconventional, yet it was unbelievably effective through unusual shooting mechanics, elite foul drawing, off-ball movement, and consistent three-point shooting. During the 2008-09 season, he averaged 24.6 points per game while shooting nearly 48% from the field, over 41% from three, and over 86% from the free throw line simultaneously. Advanced metrics consistently loved Martin during his prime because of his high true shooting percentages, low turnover rates, and elite offensive efficiency. In many ways, his statistical profile resembled modern analytics, focused scorers before that style became mainstream. Yet despite multiple near all-star level seasons, he never made a single all-star team, which is extremely unusual for a player who averaged over 24 points across a full season. He was constantly traded between Sacramento, Houston, Oklahoma City, and Minnesota, preventing any long-term franchise identity from forming. In Houston, during 2010-11, he averaged 23.5 points before being traded to Oklahoma City in the James Harden deal. He career averaged 17.4 points per game. David West. David West entered the NBA in 2003 after an incredible college career at Xavier, where he won the AP National Player of the Year, the Oscar Robertson Trophy, and 3 straight Atlantic 10 Player of the Year awards, before being drafted 18th overall by the New Orleans Hornets. His prime happened largely in New Orleans during the Chris Paul era, and because Paul controlled the ball constantly and became the face of the franchise, West's importance often gets historically overlooked. But during the Hornets' peak years, West was absolutely an all-star level co-star. In 2007-08, he averaged 20.6 points and helped to lead New Orleans to 56 wins as that Hornets team pushed San Antonio to 7 games in the 2008 playoffs, featuring Chris Paul, West, Tyson Chandler, and Peja Stojakovic. His offensive game was extremely polished, built around an elite mid-range jumper, pick and pop scoring, strong post game, physical rebounding, and high basketball IQ. Career-wise, he made 2 All-Star teams, scored over 14,000 points, and averaged 13.6 points and 6.4 rebounds per game. He suffered a devastating ACL injury in 2011, right before entering free agency, which changed his career trajectory completely. After New Orleans, he reinvented himself in Indiana alongside Paul George and Roy Hibbert, becoming the emotional and physical leader of Pacers teams that seriously challenged LeBron James' Miami Heat in the Eastern Conference. Later in his career, he joined San Antonio and then Golden State, winning championships with the Warriors in 2017 and 2018. His game was built around fundamentals over highlights, which is exactly why younger fans rarely discuss how effective he actually was. If you enjoyed this, I'm going to be posting a lot here. I would greatly appreciate it if you could subscribe. Thanks for watching.